Hello and welcome to the Rank and Flank podcast. I'm your host, Finton. These are my co-hosts, Ben.
Hello.
AJ.
Hello.
And Mark.
Hello.
It's been a little while since we last podcasted.
Yeah, over a month.
Yeah,
Life happens.
indeed.
We went on holiday, you and I.
Yep.
Ben decided to go work in Vegas,
How could you?
and then kissed a Nurgle spawn over there and came back all full of the travel lurgy. And so, yeah, every week that we went to podcast, we ended up saying, oops, can't podcast this week.
Yep. Speaking of Nurgle, we've had some news on the Chaos Warriors Arcane Journal alongside all their models that are being released. All that's been announced much quicker than the Dwarf Arcane Journal stuff was announced. Seems like they've gotten their pipeline figured out, I guess.
Or maybe they're just really excited about Chaos.
Who wouldn't be? Speaking as a Chaos player. Aside from all the new Chaos stuff, we've also got the Rank and Flank GT that happened.
Yay!
So we're going to go over all of that. Other than that, I don't think we have much else to cover.
I think that's going to take us a while to get through, to be honest.
First 3-hour episode?
I don't. We keep threatening to get to 3 hours. I don't think we'll quite get that long, but
We'll see.
you'll see how we go.
So, Town Crier. We've got some new models, or old models, coming back to cover. In a couple different waves of releases. We've got a bunch of plastics and resins and metals, oh my.
And it looks like they're releasing your army as the battalion box.
Pretty much. The entire list that I've been running is just available in the battalion box, pretty much.
Oh, yeah,
Nice.
almost.
There's a couple
yeah.
things in there that are
Yeah.
missing. But in there's 44 miniatures.
An immovable core of 32 Chaos Warriors. Supported by 10 Chaos Knights.
Fearsome Chaos Knights.
Unstoppable shock cavalry, apparently. They are, in fact, kind of wimpy for the amount of... They look really cool, but...
They're about 200 points
Yeah.
for a unit that will either die or kill one other unit.
And then there's 2 Chaos Chariots / Gore Beast Chariots. Oh, wait for it. The box also contains a transfer sheet with 621 transfers.
Oh my goodness. I've always wanted a transfer sheet. I've never had one before.
Why can't you put transfers on from that set?
621? I mean, where are you going to put them all?
On the sheet, just to display next to your army.
'Cause, I mean, the shields come with the Chaos symbol already on them.
Pretty much everything in those miniatures is already... It's got sculpted detail.
Yeah.
You don't really have anywhere to put transfers. It's not like it's Space Marines with big empty shoulder pads. They've all got the 8-pointed star on them.
Yeah.
Just banners, right? How are you going to fit
banners.
621 onto 3 banners?
All right.
It's for your 15,000 point chaos collection, you know, where every model's a banner bearer.
Okay, so yeah, plenty of that's your core basically right there with your Chaos Warriors and your Chaos Knights. That makes sense.
Yep. We've also got some other new releases. They're doing them in 2 waves, right?
Well, they've only told us about the first wave so far, right?
There was some second wave stuff in there as well.
Okay, cool.
But in the first wave, returning for plastic, we've got a bunch of fun things. Chaos Lord and a Manticore. It looks very snazzy with his big old sword and lack of helmet.
Everybody knows, right into battle without a helmet, you'll look way cooler.
It's true. 2 very horny champions of chaos. And Chaos and Sorcerer, rather. The Chimera, who I absolutely love, entirely for his gameplay.
That's the same Chimera that you've got, right?
It is.
It's a nice plastic kit.
It is.
Yeah,
It's very spiky.
spiky.
Absolutely wonderful to play with, though. It does stick off the base quite a bit. But it is a flying monster, so what are you going to do? You got Dragon Ogres as well, and the plastic Chaos Warriors, which are just absolutely wonderful with all those sculpted shields.
I didn't even realize the Dragon Ogres were out of production at the moment. They're such a nice kit.
They are.
Way nicer than the older one, although I still prefer the older one. The new ones, there's definitely still a place in not anyone's army, but anyone's collection for such nice looking models.
Mark, you could get a tattoo that says, I still prefer the older one.
I will.
Just hold up a sign.
Yeah.
The old
Put that on a
times are now.
t-shirt.
Yeah. I've never seen those chosen models before. I'm guessing they're from like 5th ed or 6th ed, which is when I wasn't playing. Sorry, we haven't got to the.
We haven't gotten to the chosen yet.
Oh dang! Sorry, I've jumped the gun.
How dare you? You've ruined the podcast. Take it again. We'll cut this out in post.
I am ashamed.
We've got some medals returning with a bunch of characters, including a Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount, Chaos Sorcerer on Chaos Steed, and a Champion of Chaos on foot. The Demonic Mount in this case is just a particularly nasty horse. It's not actually a demon.
Did that horse not get a reimagining in Age of Sigmar?
You may be thinking of Archaon with Dorgar.
The Plague Chaos Lord, are you sure? I could swear he came out for Age of Sigmar as well.
I'm not familiar with AOS models.
It's a demonic horse because it's got a chaos symbol built into its skin.
It's been branded.
Hardcore.
We've also got some old, very fun-looking Chaos Ogres and their command group for when you want to run a really big block of Chaos Ogres.
I have that command group.
Oh my gosh. There's so much character in those models.
The guy with the extra head on his shoulder.
Yep. Zaphod Beeblebrox.
It's beautiful.
It's very...
There's a Cyclops guy. They've got meat cleavers.
It's very much like the old Realm of Chaos books with all the random mutations you can get out of them. I love the models.
Gigantic horns going in every direction.
Oh, of course.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We have some very fun-looking Chaos Trolls as well.
They're very skinny ogres.
Compared to,
we're
very top heavy.
The Trolls are too, yeah.
We're used to ogres now being kind of like Ogre Kingdoms ogres with their big fat bellies. And so when we look at these old Chaos ogres, it's like, yeah, these guys need to eat something.
Tiny hips. Their hips are so small, I can't get over it. Like their limbs are big, their heads are massive, but they've got these sort of prepubescent torsos. And I'm trying to work out how that works physiologically. It's like the rest of their body just keep growing. And
they got all the mutations except big torso. They had big arms, big legs, and big head, but no torso mutations.
Baby legs.
Just like the Chaos Trolls as well. They also look quite malnourished compared to Chaos.
And maybe that's thematic,
trolls.
right?
Yeah.
They're coming from the north. There's a lot less food.
It's true. It's just snow.
Yeah, that's it. They've been eating icebergs for the last half a year. Anyway,
this is the real cause of global warming. We also have Chosen, which you were saying you'd never seen before.
Yeah, I hadn't.
They look very fun.
They do. They're. I mean, they definitely look like they're in their full plate. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They basically just have bigger horns.
Yep, they are indeed much hornier than the regular guys.
These, I think, are the only official Chosen models I think they've ever made. But I've only ever seen them with great weapons. Do Chosen have like a sword and board option as well?
They do. In
Only fools run them that way.
yeah. Pretty much the only way you would ever run Chosen in Old World is with great weapons or two-hand weapons if you're being interesting. I don't think there's really much of a reason to run sword and board with them. A 3 of armor save versus a 4 of armor save isn't too big a deal, especially with how hard they'll hit with the great weapons compared to with just hand weapons.
Yeah.
If you did want to run them with something different, they do have a halberd upgrade kit.
Oh yeah.
Which you can each sold separately.
Is that's for the Chaos Warriors though?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, the Chaos Warriors have a halberd upgrade kit and a great weapon upgrade kit.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to resins. We've got a whole bunch of new kits here as well. All in Forge Rolled resin. Ooh, fancy.
we should come up with a word for new old, nold.
Yes, the Nold models.
What's like a good combo? Old, new.
I like Nold.
Nold.
Newelled.
Anyway, in the Nold world, we've got the Hell Cannon returning with all of its Chaos Dwarf handlers.
Yeah.
very small hats for Chaos Dwarves. They really don't let them have much in the way of their cultural identity when you're in the Chaos Legion, do you?
They're very humble for what they've done.
Yeah.
Like a gigantic maw of death that vomits death.
Well, they're cannon grunts. I mean, the big hats wouldn't mean anything if everyone had one. Right? Scarcity is value.
That's true.
You know.
Returning is the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth as well.
I don't like the Hell Cannon model, just to be clear. I think it's fine, but it's kind of it's a bit meh.
What makes you say that?
You know, it is. It's supposed to be a demon, and really, it's just kind of a
big gun.
It's kind of somebody took a cannon and went, let's make this cannon into chaos. Which, you know, I get, but if it wasn't a demon, that'd be fine. But this thing like can actually break free and go and eat things. This does not look like it will break free and go and eat things.
This reminds me of I saw rules before where in 40k, if it's a chaos thing, it must have a demon in it, and one of them was it's like a Horus Heresy rapier thing, which is basically like this. It's gun on treads, but if you're playing it in 40k, it has a demon in it. It can break free of its people, and then this little kind of gun wagon thing can chase people, much smaller than this, so it's kind of hilarious. It's like watching a pair of shoes become sentient and try to start kicking people. It's really, really silly, This thing, a little bit more believable, but I mean, if that thing is coming to kill you by running you over, it would be, hard to take seriously.
Well, also, if you look at it, it's on an enormous base. It only fills half the base. Mm-hmm. And so I this is something that I like people to kind of model themselves. I've seen really great conversions of like, let's actually have a demon mount a cannon on its back or on its shoulder or have it carrying one.
There's a cool Lord of Change one I saw that was pretty good.
Oh, I have not seen that one. I gotta look that one up. And then it's like, yeah, I believe that thing's going to eat me. That's great.
This one kind of looks like, for our local viewers, they'll know what a What's-It is. I think the American equivalent would be like a Cheeto, like a fat Cheeto. It looks like it looks like a hollowed out What's-It. Yeah.
It's like a BDSM Cheeto with wheels.
That's exactly what it is. And 3 dwarfs to make sure it doesn't run off and get too cheesy. Anyway.
We should have a Hell Cannon conversion contest.
I do actually have most of a Hell Cannon at home, missing, of all things, the actual cannon itself. It is actually like
conversion opportunity.
It looks very finicky to put together. I mean, like the parts of the chains have to be glued together, but they're just chains, and it's all metal, so you can't really pin parts of it. It seems very, very finicky to put together.
Well, now it's in Forge World resin.
Doesn't change much, but it's lighter now.
You can maybe
it'd be easier to glue if it's in resin.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. We do have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, who is... imagine if the other Dragon Ogre models were more modern.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And therefore bigger. We have some unpainted on the website skin wolves, which are very nice looking. I've not seen these models before, but...
They're painted in the community article.
Yeah, the later article, but on on this first one, they're just... grey renders.
I mean, they're basically big werewolves with skin all over them.
Yep.
Does anyone know what the fluff behind these guys is? Because I would assume skin wolves, vampire counts, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the fluff.
They really like skin.
They're
flayed ones, but in fantasy.
Pretty much, yeah.
When the journal comes, I guess.
Yeah. There is some old fluff for them, but I'm not familiar with it. They're a Norse skin unit.
Nice.
And then we also have the Warp Fire Dragon. Is just another option for Chaos Dragon, I think. I've never heard of these guys before. But I think they blow up.
Yeah, I've heard about that. It dies and then it blows up and kills everything around it.
Yeah. Seems more like a Skaven thing, but Skaven can't have dragons, so nor can Skaven have new models. And then we have the gigantic Spawn of Chaos, which I don't know if that's a new unit or if it's just an extra big one.
There was, I think, the giant Spawn of Chaos and the giant spine beast, and I think that they look kind of similar, biggish looking things like that. I can't remember if they're probably in fantasy as well, but they're definitely in 40k. Yeah,
I've never seen this gigantic Spawn model before either.
I mean, what's the What's the deal behind? Oh, maybe there's going to be a gigantic spawn of chaos rules in the Arcane Journal. Then,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
yeah. Sorry, I'm still catching up. Like the regular spawn of chaos is a pretty good unit, at 50 points. I'd be curious to see. Like this is on a bigger base because the regular spawn is on a 50, and this model looks like it's on a 75 by 50.
They might publish it independently, like they did with Prince Ulfr and his dragon lads.
Oh yeah.
They might, but I wouldn't imagine. Oh, well, are you thinking maybe because Beastmen could also take it?
Oh,
Or
maybe.
something.
Well, just that some stuff didn't get included in the Arcade Journal, and they release a PDF when you get the box.
Right, which makes sense for Prince Ulthuan because he can be taken in the Empire army.
Prince Ulthuan. Did you just call him an elf?
Prince Ulther, what was his name? Ulther, something, Prince somebody or other. It was this
Dragon Prince. Something.
Another elf name. That's going in the book.
Prince. What was his
And his
name?
dragon company. He's got a dragon company and
Yeah.
he's a prince. So.
Dwarf Prince with the dragon. I can't even remember his name now.
All of this is going in the book.
It's fine.
Moving on from the...
Ulther. Ulther.
Oh, Ulther.
I mean, that's pretty darn close. He might as well be called Prince Ulthuan. Sorry.
Anyway.
I'm going to call him that from now on.
Yeah, or all 2 times you see him ever.
Yeah.
We've got medals made to order as well. We've got a bunch of new demon princes who look very nice.
Zoidberg.
It's the I think it's what the purplish painted one and the pinkish one.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those models so much. I'm definitely going to get them.
Also a classic Chaos Spawn and a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Chaos Steed. And then in Wave 2 at the bottom here, we've got a whole bunch of new things like chariots, dogs, and marauders, and marauder horsemen.
Pretty cool.
Lots of fun things. And also for more Chaos Knights, in case you wanted more mediocrity in your army.
I do. In fact, I bought before these guys went out of production. I bought like 100 of them because I love the other models so much.
Yeah, but
All work for life.
importantly, the dogs are coming back out, which is like the great chaff unit in the Warriors of Chaos.
Dogs are so good. If dogs were in every army, everyone would take them.
So well priced. When I saw how cheap they
35.
are for Strength 4.
They're not strength 4, they're
they're
weapon
strength
skill
3.
4.
Weapon skill 4. On dogs,
Yeah.
They move 7 is the big thing.
Move 7, really cheap, and core.
what toughness?
Tough
3. They are human stat line, weapon skill 4, move 7.
For like,
Leadership
what,
6.
like 8 points or something like that?
6 points a model.
Get out of town.
6 points, that's right, because a unit of 5 is only 30.
Yep, and then you
Ooh.
pay 5 for Vanguard
Nice.
for the whole unit.
And it's so cheap.
That's
I was
cheaper
wondering
than
why it
the
was
six.
always 35 points for even. And I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that's so cheap.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're ridiculously cheap.
Woof woof indeed.
I've taken 2 of them in every game. They've almost always earned back their points because their points is nothing. But yeah, that's about all we know right now for the models. Lots of exciting releases.
Yeah. That's the models. Then we've got some advanced stuff about the Arcane Journal itself.
Yes, some rules teasers.
Yeah, so probably by the time most of you are listening to this, that'll all have been spoiled on the internet, but it hasn't been spoiled yet. We just have some of the rules.
We have a very interesting and let's say controversial article going alongside the the rules teasers we have here.
Well, for setting the scene, there's 2 armies of infamy, right? There's the Wolves of the Sea, and then the other one is called the Heralds of Darkness. And the Wolves of the Sea is like sort of Viking themed.
Norscan.
Yeah, and then I think the Heralds of Darkness, it's more classic Chaos Warriors.
But all mounted.
Yeah.
It's the Nomadic Wa or Errantry Crusade, but for
for warriors.
For warriors.
Yeah. Fair enough.
There's even the Royal Cohort for Tomb Kings. It makes me think that they're going to make a cavalry army for every army that has access to cavalry. Like, dwarves didn't have access to cavalry, so they
Well,
didn't get
they gave them cavalry.
of sorts.
Give a pony.
I mean, it's a pony. Yeah.
It's a chariot.
It's a chariot, but
yeah.
you know, it makes all your dwarfs move faster.
And they had the scout gyros as well.
Yeah.
But I think that in each of the following Arcane Journals, we're going to get a cavalry army, except maybe Beastmen. We might not get a Beastman one.
And
Just-
You'll get a Minotaur army.
Yeah.
The Empire army is supposed to be the gunnery school and the Middenheim one. I don't know if Middenheim would be
Not familiar with
horse-based.
Middenheim.
They had like they're the guys who worship Ulrich.
Ulrich.
Yeah.
So we get an
Yeah.
Ulrich themed army. Well, that would make sense for it to be potentially.
There was a Middenheim army for Storm of Chaos, so we could look at that for ideas.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Well,
Back
next
to
year.
Chaos, though, yeah.
Yeah. Let's do Chaos first, and then we can talk about the roadmap.
Oh, yes.
Gosh.
No, no spoilers.
So, in the article, they go over a couple of different things about the different armies. Starting with the Wolves of the Sea, it's very focused on Marauders and Beastmen as allies. You can pay points to make them ambushers, which is, quote, very powerful on an army-wide basis.
Yeah.
The Beastmen army list would like to disagree.
I mean, gosh, ambushers is so. I think such a terrible rule in this edition.
Paying for it is rough. Like, if it was free, included with the unit.
If it was free and included with the unit, I wouldn't use it. I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but like the rule itself is it basically says you've only got a 50-50 chance of these guys coming on any turn until the 5th.
Yeah.
Right? Am I
It doesn't
remembering that
improve.
correctly? Let me just read the rule, make sure I've got it right. Yeah, so you can be held in reserve from the beginning of round 2 onwards. So you definitely can't have them turn 1. And then you roll a d6. On a 1 to 3, they're delayed. On a 4+ that you can bring them in. And then if they haven't arrived by round 5, they by the start of round 5. So you get them in round 5 no matter what. I don't know about you guys, but the battle's mostly over by the end of turn 4.
Yep.
Battle's mostly over by the end of turn 3 most of the time.
Well, that's because you play warriors, but I mean, for the rest of us, like
All you
yeah.
losers.
Yeah, no. Anyway, sorry. Keep going. Meanwhile, back to Chaos.
Yes. We have some new units being teased. We've got Huskarls, who are better Marauder Horsemen, and Berserkers, who are, I think, pretty much like they're skirmish melee infantry.
Yep, makes sense.
Which is interesting. We don't really have much skirmish melee infantry aside from like war dancers in the game.
I mean, there's a melee, there's war dancers, yeah, there's dryads.
Dryad, yeah, all wood elf things.
Yep.
Wood elves are the skirmisher army, so it's their thing.
It's
Yeah,
usually skirmish shooting, isn't it?
it's mostly skirmish shooting. I'm thinking through all the skirmishers, going through as quickly as I can. No, yeah, they're all
They're all shooting specialized. Yeah.
shooting, typically.
There is some, like no skirmish infantry is really melee, so this is a fun choice.
Yeah.
Skirmishing is very strong and kind of game defining at this point.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing a dragon list, most of the time the top lists, a lot of the GTs we've seen have been very MSU shooting
Yeah.
with skirmishers.
I had somebody bring a unit of skirmishing these guys. What are they? The Marauders, and they had flails, and I was quite surprised because like the flails give you that +2 strength on
First round, yeah.
combat, so they go from being like strength human stat line, right? To now strength 5, and they've got a 360 charge arc. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
Aren't Marauders initiative 4 base as well? So they're not like initiative 3, so they're like
Oh,
that
are
kind of
they?
leads.
I'm
I'm
not-
pretty sure they are usually like. I think what they do for the Marauders is they want them to be more kind of a human, yes, but also a little bit better. So like I think they usually give them like an extra weapon skill and an extra initiative to represent that, which is weird because you would think, oh, maybe they should
Marauders
be stronger.
are one extra weapon skill, and that's it. They've got
Really?
one less initiative.
Really?
Sorry, not one less initiative, one less leadership.
Yeah, they're leadership 6. Yeah, so it's the extra weapon skill that you get. That makes sense.
Yeah, Chaos's thing has always been high weapon skill.
Nice.
So yeah, and you can give them great weapons, but like if these are berserkers, they are, I would assume they would have frenzy.
Presumably.
Right? If they're so now, if you can also give them flails and frenzy, they'll have 2 attacks apiece. That's going to be nasty because they're only 6 points base. Maybe they would go up to 7 or 8 points base.
I imagine Berserkers are a little bit more expensive, at least.
But still, I mean, a unit of 5 of those is still going to be well into chaff points range. So you're just going to fire them into something and hope to do like. I think we're going to see quite a few of them. I mean, obviously depends on the points, but this could absolutely be a very cool unit to have in your army. Although it's only going to be in the Sea Wolves army. So yeah.
Well, as far as we know.
As far as we know, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. The Doom Seekers are creeping back in.
Last
episode.
Yeah.
It does seem like a good opportunity to convert them to, like, I know they mentioned the conversion and all that sort of stuff later on. They mentioned shields and all that, but the second I saw it reminded me of, Vermintide 2, the Berserker guy, the very Norse guy, covered in tattoos, screams at you, you can't block him properly, all this kind of stuff.
10 feet tall.
Yeah. Love him. I hope someone designs a load of Berserkers to look exactly like that.
They got a big dome helmet on him as well.
Yeah. Screaming at you while just flailing.
We have some details on Huskarls and Berserkers in the article. Huskarls get to wear heavy armor, and they're close order compared to the open order or skirmishers of regular Marauder horsemen. And they get Furious Charge and Counter Charge. I find this really frustrating.
And drilled.
Yeah. You can pay for that.
Yeah.
So, Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights get First Charge. That's their only special rule aside that they get compared to regular Chaos Warriors. The only one.
They don't get counter charge?
They don't get counter charge. That's a huge thing.
Wow.
Empire Knights get counter charge. All the Bretonnian Knights get counter charge. Like, every cavalry unit in the game pretty much gets counter charge except regular Chaos Knights. They also don't get Furious Charge or any kind of attack buffing ability, and yet they are 200 points a unit, essentially, compared to that, like, regular Empire Knights who do get counter charge. Upside is they can get a mark of chaos, so they can get extra attack, and they can also be.
They get a 2-up, right?
They get a 3-up. They don't even get a 2-up. Only the chosen get the 2-up. They are strength 4 base, but they
strength 6 lances.
Strength 6 lances.
It's really hard to get that charge off against enemy cavalry. Like, most of the time, they're going to charge you.
Right, because you only move 7.
Yep. And even if you don't charge, even if you get the charge off on them, they're going to countercharge, which you can't do, and then they're going to hit just as hard as you're hitting into them. Mm-hmm. They're very frustrating. However, Huskarls, great. Now you have countercharge on a much weaker unit. They do have Furious Charge, it's very nice. So they can get this extra hits on the charge, and they can presumably be marked as well. So maybe they hit even harder than Chaos Knights, which would be really funny to see.
They don't get lances though, right?
No, they won't.
Yeah, that kind of, because I was thinking, right, God, Furious Charge, Counter Charge, they can probably have shields, drilled. Like, that makes them so much better than Empire Knights, but if they can't take lances then.
Yeah, no, I would imagine they'll just get the cavalry spears.
If they could get flails, that'd be awesome.
Oh,
flails are so good.
Flails might be, flails is basically the same as a lance in that case.
Pretty much. Flails is an infantry lance, but you can't take a shield with it.
You should get to throw spears or something as well, don't they?
That's the regular horsemen. Huskarls are for the melee version.
Oh yeah, it says right here the Berserkers do get frenzy.
Berserkers get frenzy
and an additional hand weapon
and a 6-up ward save.
They're basically okay. So that's
my goodness,
they're kind of like war dancers then, right?
You
can give them an additional hand weapon. They've got Furious Charge rather than frenzy, but yeah, interesting.
Frenzy and additional hand weapon means you get 3 attacks a model. It's pretty nice.
Yep.
And a 6-up ward save. It's interesting. The rest of the rules are there.
There to add character to the army.
It's an interesting, interesting way of putting it.
And then that leads into the next rule, which is
Warriors Duel. This is such a fun and flavorful thing. I can just read it out in full, or just describe it.
Yeah, just describe it. Sure.
So essentially, you pick 2 unit champions. So at the start of the game, each player picks a unit champion, which has 1 wound of infantry or cavalry. And then they have a challenge, and you resolve that challenge in full until one of them dies. And whichever one dies, whichever one lives goes first. Like that army goes first in the game. If your opponent could choose to not accept this challenge, but if they do, then you just get to go first for free.
So I assume so they go fight just champion on champion.
Yep.
So any of the like it wouldn't count for being in a unit or any of that sort of stuff. So if you've got like a magic standard or
a spell
or any of that
Yep.
sort of stuff, none of that would obviously count. Yeah. I love the flavor of it.
Yep.
I
Very
think
good
it's
against some armies, right? Just not elves, maybe.
I did
High
hear
initiative.
people talking about, maybe in the Discord, ogre kingdoms. I think ogres usually have at least 2 wounds, so it's just nobblers or something like that.
3 wounds they have. Yeah.
It's either Nobblars or Deny.
No.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they haven't written any of the rules with the legacy armies in mind. So
Yeah,
It's true.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm just thinking like this is, I think, really beneficial for the Chaos player because their standard infantry champions or their cavalry champions tend to be pretty solid.
However, this is for only the Wolves of the Sea, so they may not get access to the regular Chaos Warriors and Knights. We don't really know
Yeah.
at the moment what the restrictions are going to be on that list.
Nor do we know what their initiative necessarily is.
It's going to be at least 3.
There's no charges.
There's no charges.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll take your challenge with a war dancer
That's
with
exactly what I was
strike
thinking.
strike first and weapon skill 6.
Yeah, elves are going to be nasty.
Yeah.
But like against the Empire, for example,
Good.
it's going to be very nice in the Chaos Warriors' favor.
Orcs might be pretty tough. Dwarfs, if they choose like a 3-up Ironbreaker or something to fight with. I don't know.
Bretonians is going to be really funny.
Now all the orcs and goblins players are going to put that 10-point Wallopa's one-hit wonder on a goblin champion. It's just like, I'll have you.
I do think it's really cool, like, very thematic. Like, take out your champion and then put them in the middle of the board because that's actually what they're doing. Your
Yeah,
champion
yeah.
goes up to them, their champion goes up to you, and then you beat the head off each other. But I'm getting the mental image of, they try to do that to Bretonia and using their lady rule as well. And they're like, no, it's fine. You just go back to your army. We're praying. You go ahead. That's fine. All the honor is yours. That's fine. We don't care.
I mean, it is kind of counterintuitive. Like the Bretonians would be the ones who would absolutely take on any challenge.
They must
like
accept
that.
a challenge if able,
But they would be the ones who will absolutely every time say no, no challenge for me. I'm praying.
You go ahead. You pray to yours. We'll pray to ours.
However, how does this interact with Blessing of the Lady is the question.
Oh, you can just decline it and say I'm going second.
Right. However, if you take the Blessing of the Lady
Yeah.
and then you accept the challenge and win, do you then go first?
Well, this is an interesting question. Let's see. What's the actual?
That's a good question.
What's the actual ruling on the blessing of the lady?
That model's controlling player takes the first turn, is what the... I believe Blessing of the Lady says that you...
Once deployment is complete, instead of rolling off to determine which player takes the first turn, the Kingdom of Bretonia army may kneel and pray for the blessings of the lady. If it does so, the opposing player counts as having won the roll-off, and the lady's blessing is granted. So that's...
Right, so you count as having won the roll-off.
Note that if there is no roll-off to determine which player takes the first turn, the Kingdom of Bretonia army cannot kneel and pray for the blessing.
Oof. So if you're in a scenario with attack defend or something like that,
Or no, even like, does that mean that the warrior's duel cancels out blessing of the lady?
depending on who says it first.
Rock, paper, scissors. Is it duel or is it blessing?
Where's duel? The way I'd roll this personally,
Shotgun.
the way I'd rule it is you can accept the blessing happens, and then the warrior player can just choose to not issue a duel, and they'll go first. But they can also choose to issue a duel, and if they do, then whoever wins gets to go first.
I mean, I think if warriors play Bretonians, warriors go first, Bretonians go second.
That's pretty much what's going to happen anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
Bretonians always go second,
Yeah.
which is nice for an army that wants to get charges off first. That you have to go first in this edition, even if you win the roll-off.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes. Next up, we have Skin Wolves, also available to the Wolves of the Sea. This is where the wolves come in.
Yeah.
Their movement 7, weapon skill 5. So basically Chaos Knights.
With more wounds, presumably.
Yes, they are very easy to kill, though, apparently. We don't know their saves or anything, but they are apparently quite squishy, according to the article. They also have the warped flesh rule, even though it's called warped form in the actual rule cut out here.
Yeah.
Very professional article. Basically, each combat phase you get to pick one of 3 different abilities to gain. You can either get AP +1 and Armor Bane 2, extra attacks +1, or +1 toughness and +2 armor value. So you can become more armor piercing, more killy, or more tough.
Tough, yeah. Interesting. I'm curious as to their stats and their points. This has the potential to be a great unit.
We need to know their toughness and saves.
It's probably tough 4, right, and a 6-up, like Calloused Hide armor save. That's
Something like that. Yeah,
so
yeah.
it'd go up to being a tough 5, 4-up.
4-up.
Which a tough 5 is pretty good for like an infantry guy.
Yeah.
It's monstrous infantry.
Yeah. Especially against... It depends on the foe, right?
Yeah.
I imagine these guys are going to get shot off all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is only happens during the combat phase.
Yeah, you can't be tough 5, 4-up during the shooting phase.
Yeah.
Unless you wipe out your opponent, and because it lasts until the start of your next turn.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's pretty nice. That's all we know about the Wolves of the Sea, though.
Yep.
Now we have Heralds of Darkness. They get no screening units, so no dogs, presumably. They're very elite. Hard-hitting, no skirmishers, no screening units. Basically what I've been playing my army as anyway.
Yeah.
Only they're all mounted.
Looks like Chosen Knights become core.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Chosen Knights, they're really good, but they're really expensive. Like, too expensive to be worth taking in most cases. They're like 30 points a model almost, base, and then you buy other upgrades, and then they're like 35 points per model. They are super expensive. Very tough to kill, though. 2-up, 6-up save, and they hit really hard with 2 attacks plus possibly an additional 1 for Khorne.
Yep.
At strength 6 with lances, AP -2. But again, they're so expensive.
But putting them in core seems...
That'll definitely make it more worth it.
Yeah.
Some of the best core ever.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It'll fill out your allowance instantly.
It's going to be very handy to be able to transport an army that small as well around. Too, I think.
Yeah.
That's actually going to be a big thing, a big boon.
Yeah. They have an army-wide special rule, which is Steeds of Darkness. They can reroll 1s for charge, flee, and pursuit roll, which is pretty nice. So they're just a little bit faster. In general.
That count for Swift Stride as well. I'm assuming they have Swift Stride, right? The Chosen
Yeah.
Knights?
Yeah.
All cavalry pretty much have Swiss Stride.
Nice.
We don't really know too much else about that army.
Well, we know that there's going to be a Chosen Chariot as well.
Oh boy, more chariots.
I know you don't like chariots.
Yeah.
And one thing that's come through is that they're very much staying away from alignment to a particular god in the chaos lists.
With the reasoning that because it's not end times, the gods aren't very strong at the moment, so it's sort of god soup.
Yes.
No one ever worshipped corn back in the day. That's just silly. Ignore the marks.
Yeah.
Kind of boring, to be honest.
It seems like a very like hand wavy, kind of excuse. It's not really something that they like. This is not a deliberate decision. This is just we need an excuse for why we're not doing a god-centric Arcane Journal army.
I do like the fact that they're not going all out at least straight away, because something I've noticed that I have liked more about the old world is the limitations of it actually make things like, say, the Beastmen seem more appealing to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because literally the limitations of the system. There's fewer factions. Unless you're going legacy and all that to pick out. Like there's no Skull Crushers, Warriors of Chaos. But you can have...
Because again, apparently the gods are weak.
I don't know. I kind of like it. I don't really mind it that much. But again, I'm not a Warriors of Chaos player, so maybe it's more annoying when you don't have access to your Skull Crushers or whatever the guys in the Juggernaut, So.
Yeah.
I am so annoyed.
Although I will say one thing that is nice, and I'll stop interrupt you in a second, is just the fact that you have Forge World stuff in a regular book. You know, I really like that. Sorry, anyway.
Yeah. I am very annoyed about the demonic mounts thing. It's like, here's your Disc of Zinch, your Juggernaut of Khorne, your, like, all of your demonic mounts. They're just a thing on a random sized base with the same stat line. No, you don't get Seekers of Slaanesh. No, you don't get Skullcrushers of Khorne. No, you don't get whatever Nurgle and Zinch had.
A Palanquin and...
the Palanquin of Nurgle, yeah. And
I don't even want to guess what the Slaanesh had.
Screamers, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. In Total War, they had Doom Knights, which I was really expecting to see, which are disc riding, like, cavalry, which were super duper cool, like, as non-characters. I really enjoyed the look of them, but they're not making an appearance at all because apparently demons aren't real and the gods are weak.
It's interesting in this article. There's and I'm not super familiar with all of the Chaos range, but there's this really cool looking chariot thing. Looks like it's being pulled by. It's not a Juggernaut, but it's not a Juggernaut.
So the Gorbeast chariot.
It looks like a Skaven-y
Is it the Gorbeast chariot? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's a
That would be
Gorbeast
that,
chariot.
yeah.
Is that? I've never actually seen one on the table. Okay, so I was wondering if this was maybe going to be, the Chaos Chosen Chariot. It's the Gorbeast. Okay, cool. Thank
The
you.
Chosen Chariots, you say it as, I think.
Yeah, probably. But there are now Chosen Knight models, or Chosen Warrior models. Sorry.
It's true. There's also the Warp Fire Dragon coming as a new unit available for the Grand Army.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to be different from the regular dragon. Maybe it's just a non-ridden dragon, like you take it as a monster.
That'd be nice.
Speaking of dragons,
Oh gosh.
we have the controversial bit of the article.
Oh gosh.
We can just read this part out in full, honestly.
All right, who wants to be Danny and who's going to be JTY?
I don't know. We can draw straws.
Roll off for it.
You be Danny.
All right.
I'll be JTY.
I don't know what Danny sounds like, so I'm just going to speak normally.
That's fine.
Make up a dwarf voice.
Probably English. How's your Nottingham accent?
Terrible.
just do your own voice. That's fine.
The Chaos Lord and the Dragon is undoubtedly very powerful at present, especially if you spec him to murder everything he touches. But there is counterplay. There's magic you can look at, and a magic weapon in the core rulebook called the Dragon Slaying Sword, which I've not seen too many of. Bertoni has a few answers, including virtues. Most factions can bring their own big lord and a dragon, and those who can't make up for it by lugging big cannons onto the field.
They won't manage it in one shot, but 2 or 3 shots should kill a dragon.
Remember, a tooled-up lord and a dragon is a lot of points, up to 600, to put in one place. Empire armies can lock them down with flagellants, while their comrades mop up the rest of the enemy. They have a 5+ ward save, and they're unbreakable. Pretty good for a unit worth only a few hundred points.
These dragons have toughness 6, which is not insurmountable. A Minotaur with a great weapon could cut one in half. I do think that people are beginning to work out how to deal with powerful heroes, but we are watching the scene. This is the level that we want these big monsters to be at because they're an investment in money, time, and points. It's disappointing if it just gets blown off the table by a cannon. That's the only part I agree with. It is disappointing to have your big monster that you've spent ages on getting blown off in one shot by a cannon. But oh my god, yeah, there's a lot that's out of touch with a reality in the meta there.
Yeah, this is...
If you take a Chaos Lord tooled up on a dragon, I think we worked out it takes 5 rounds of 3 great cannon shooting
with engineers
to, on average, to kill him with a 5-up, 3-up, 5-up, 5-up.
2-up, 5-up, 5-up was what it was.
No, but I think you can only get a 3-up, 5-up, 5-up.
Whatever, it's a cannon. It ignores armor.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
it's a ridiculously hard to kill unit because of the saves, and they didn't address that here because toughness is the only thing that matters.
Yes, toughness is not insurmountable. You're correct. Toughness is not insurmountable. That's what poison is for.
A Minotaur with a great weapon would cut one in half, quote unquote. it would deal about half a wound in a round of combat, and then get eaten immediately by the dragon.
Well, it's the stomps that kill you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wait, what about flagellants, guys? So I'm sitting here waiting for you to address flagellants. Literally, probably the most overcosted, kind of crappy unit in the Empire Army.
It's only a few hundred points.
Yeah, they're like 11 points a model for just a guy. Has Unbreakable. It's unbelievable.
Tell me more about this Wonder Unit, Ben.
Yeah. Have you heard of flagellants?
No.
Unbreakable, you say?
What about the dragon slaying sword? Did you know there's such a thing? Surely not. That's just people just don't know about it. That's why dragons are winning everything, and everyone's getting annoyed at dragons. And
The dragon slaying sword that you have to hit the weapon skill 7 dragon with, and then hope to roll a 6, and then hope it fails all of its saves.
yeah.
yeah, which is what is it? 25 points or 50 points?
It's
It's
50
50
points.
50 points. God, get out of
Yeah,
town.
yeah. So, I haven't seen too many of those. I wonder why.
What? No, I bet. What? You haven't seen too many flagellants either. Why are people playing flagellants? Gosh, I got to get painting.
They're 13 points a model base.
Yeah,
That is ridiculous.
a human
yeah,
stat
yeah.
line.
Well, no, they're slightly worse than human stat line because they're
yeah,
only
they're-
leadership 5.
That doesn't matter if they're unbreakable.
They have weapon skill 2, don't they?
Well, they're unbreakable, but like leadership 5 is terrible for like against a scream or something like that in an
Oh,
all
right,
comers
sure.
list, right?
Oh, does the scream work against
Oh.
it's not just a model in a unit. If you aim against the unit, it literally just removes.
That many wounds from the unit.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought it was
Quite.
individual models.
No, no.
Also,
Go ahead.
all armies that don't have a dragon have something to do with this, except the legacy ones, of course.
Yes.
The legacy ones have worse dragons, and they just don't have cannons.
They don't count them. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
The flagellant thing is you're going to win combat, and even if they have like 60 flagellants or whatever they're assuming that you're going to take, they're just not going to follow up, and you're going to go out and fly away and kill something else or breathe fire on them or something. It's not like that tactic just doesn't work in the old world.
no, because unbreakable, you give ground, then you don't follow up, and then you fly into a different unit instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Well, no, they're assuming that you're taking a Chaos Sword with the Mark of Khorne, of course, because he's very fighty, so he should clearly have an extra attack on the main guy, right?
Yes.
This is smart and a good decision.
Oy vey.
I do think that maybe they're just looking at the main factions, just ignoring Legacy entirely, and probably basing this entirely off, I think, one of their own tournaments that they ran that one time.
Yeah, I think it's fine that they ignore the legacy factions. That is,
That's what they said they would do.
Yeah, and that's okay. But the fact is, they're not looking at. You don't tool up a Chaos Lord to, or as they say, spec him to murder everything he touches. You just spec him to survive
Yep.
everything that you throw at him. And then the dragon does all the work. It's literally like dragons go and kill everything, and the dude on the back is just there to provide a force field.
He's a cheerleader.
Of ward saves, regen saves, and armor saves.
It's like
You know,
his job is to drop his
He's the
sword
power pack.
and then try to block everything with his shield. He's not actually on the dragon. He's on the ground, blocking everything with his shield and his little magic pendants, while the dragon does all its stuff.
You could model it as a backpack with 4 propeller blades on it, and it'd be just as accurate.
They should have the dragon holding a little Chaos Lord in his hand, and using it as a shield.
Well, they said it's 600. They're like it's 600 points, guys. Yeah, 600 points that most armies are never going to get. because
Yeah.
they would never get
No
to
army
it.
is ever going to get those points.
How many wounds does a Chaos Lord and a Chaos Dragon have?
9.
9?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 9.
And doesn't he come with an inbuilt invul or ward save or special ward save or something to
Inbuilt
begin with?
5 up,
Yeah.
ward
Yeah.
save built in,
And
and,
then
you
you
can
can-
give him regen, and you can give him the ability to reroll all successful hits against him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross.
Or even just rerolling 6s and then give him -1 to be hit.
Never mind the fact that he starts at toughness 6. By the time you get into combat with him, he could be toughness 8 from Gaze of the Gods.
The toughness bonus from Gaze of the Gods is always temporary.
Is always temporary. Well, that's something.
So it'll be toughness 7.
Toughness 7. Yeah, exactly. Anyhow.
Yeah, that kind of let me down a bit. I think I was hoping if they were ever to approach the subject of Dragon Hammer, there'd be a bit more sort of in reality about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're sort of out of touch here because
Well, maybe we just have too much of a tournament focus.
yeah.
But speaking of things that let you down, Ben,
Oh, the roadmap. Shall we take a break and record again once we get it up? 'Cause I haven't saved.
is it
Fade out on our laughter.
Is it just too much pain to look at the roadmap
I mean,
again?
I need to take a few deep breaths first.
So at the Nova Open, they previewed the roadmap, which we had already had kind of spoiled over like 2 months ago, I think, through one of the Warhammer Discord group moderators.
See our last episode for more information.
Yeah. So I think it's confirmed. Obviously, warriors are the next army. We knew that. Based on the diagram, it's hard to tell if Empire or High Elves are up next.
I think it's Empire.
Yeah, but we're pretty convinced it's Empire, then High Elves, then more factions, then
Yes.
army boxes, heroes, plastic, metal, and resin.
Yeah, I don't know why they mentioned that. Like, they're coming out in fucking something. Like, what is the Scotchman?
They're filling space in the diagram. So Empire and then High Elves. The question is, will we get the other? It's going to be Beastmen, then Wood Elves. Will we get those in 2025? I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. But yeah, so
I can boil this entire image down into one thing. We're not getting anything else other than Chaos Warriors for the rest of the year. Next year we're getting Empire, High Elves, and then some other stuff that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
That's all the image says. And the way it's displayed is like the stupidest. It's like go Google Old World Roadmap if you haven't seen it yet, but it's like the letter U. And then sort of 2024 is the left side of the U going downwards, and then for some reason there's a join point, but then it goes. Then you have to go back down from the top again.
Yeah,
but why are they joined up and down at the bottom?
If they weren't joined, this would make so much more sense.
it would.
The way it reads right now, it looks like either we're going backwards in time if you start on the right, or everything's flipped. We get even more factions before the High Elves and Empire.
Oh, they're
and then
last.
2025 happens.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah, my favorite part, my favorite part is what's obviously happened is the graphic designer's been given this brief, right? And he's like, well, what do I fill in this thing with? And then there's one section on the roadmap that just says army boxes, heroes, plastic, metal, resin. That's part of the roadmap.
Honestly, this looks like they gave it to the intern. You know, it's like
You can see the yellow line
bad.
through the logo.
It's not great.
In the bottom right. And they have the logo on there twice.
yeah.
Guys, in 2025, Warhammer the Old World's going to release. Aren't you excited?
Yeah. It is Empire and then High Elves. They confirm it in the text. So yeah, no surprise. So that's at the start of 2025. So we'll get those presumably in the first half. Empire Q1, High Elves Q2.
Maybe Q1 as well. I don't know.
Maybe
They've done the release for Chaos so
there's
fast.
so many Empire models though. Like if you think about the depth of models that they could potentially release for Empire, and same for High Elves. You know, those guys. There's been
Old ranges.
so many, like almost as many as the dwarfs, right? So yeah, I could see those being all we get in the first half of next year, and then we get sort of Beastmen and Wood Elves to round things out by the end of the year.
Who knows? Maybe the army boxes, heroes, plastic, metal, resin will actually be, once they finish that part, then we'll get a new announcement of a new roadmap.
Wait, they have resin? No way!
Whoa.
I've always wanted a resin.
Cowabunga, bro.
I think, maybe next year we'll get a campaign book.
Love
I
it.
doubt that. I think they probably would have put that on the roadmap.
I mean, they didn't put the other two factions. I mean, is it like, it's not like it's really a big mystery. Either it's Beastmen then Wood Elves, or Wood Elves then Beastmen.
Ooh. Surprise, we're bringing back, Amazons.
What I was really hoping for was that they would tell us the order of the factions and then say, and in 2026, even if they'd said in 2027, I wouldn't have cared. But if they just said, then you get new faction, or then you get something that was surprising or interesting. Anyway, you're right. It was disappointing on a lot of levels.
If we got an announcement for 2027 Kislev, that would be amazing.
Oh, hang on. they did say that there is a nautical new character for the High Elves.
Oh, the worm dragon or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Merworming
Yes.
their way
Merworm.
back in with their own host of classic kits plus a nautical new character.
Nice.
Merworm, huh?
I think that was a Storm of Magic monster, was it?
The Merworm?
Yeah, Forge World one, right?
I don't know, but a nautical new character suggests a Lothar Seaguard character. Which,
nice.
you know, I like the Seaguard. I think
They're cool.
they are my favorite sort of core model in the High Elves range. So
It'd be really
Merworm.
funny.
Merworm.
It'd be awesome if we got.
I hope they get options to make like crabs or something. I fucking love giant crabs. Swear to God.
It'd be really awesome if we got Popeye the Sailor Man as an elf.
We already have ponies. We just need giant crabs now. Hopefully we get like a seafaring high elf army of infinite.
Like a Seaguard themed
Yep.
one.
I
Well,
love
we'll
that.
see in 2025 after we get, Empire of Man. And before we get more factions, Army Boxes Heroes, Metal Plastic Resin.
Love the ring to
Ooh,
that.
resin.
I mean, I will say I was actually really hoping for a Marauder Viking-ish kind of army, and it seems like that that's what we're getting. So if I'm ever going to collect Chaos, it's going to be that army.
Yep, there is indeed a Forge World Merworm. And it's basically a cross between a fish and a dragon on top of a sea wreck, a sea ship, a ship sea wreck. Well, gosh, I can't word proper England today.
There were rules for that in 6th edition, and I think there's some
Monstrous
sort of weird.
Arcanum, I think.
There's
has
some
them.
there's some
Scroll of Binding.
weird lore behind them. Like they're meant to be just seafaring, but some magic spell has been cast on them, and now they can they grow legs or something stupid like that. I don't know.
They put a big bubble of water around them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the kind of mishmash between sea serpents and dragons.
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was something weird about their lore like that. I remember.
Yeah. All right. well,
Whatever it is, I think it'd be really cool to see someone encase one in resin and just have it have a blob of water on the battlefield, magically following it around.
In a tank?
Nice.
Or...
Yeah, like
A little aquarium.
like blue resin, so you could barely see the model at all.
Just the base size of an
Yeah.
aquarium. That's hilarious.
It's a gelatinous cube.
The tournament zone.
All right, tournament zone. We had the Rank and Flank GT. Very exciting, very fun event. We're just going to jump right in. We've got a lot to cover for this.
Yeah. So
Since you ran the tournament,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think that I will describe the scenario and for each round, and then you guys can talk a bit about your games. But I wonder, did we cover your lists in the last episode? Or
I
no?
can't remember.
Okay, well, maybe we should just go through your lists real quick. Even just at a high level, it doesn't have to be all the absolute detail. But just to give everybody a bit of a flavor of kind of what you were playing.
All right. Since everyone else is scrambling to open their lists,
Yeah.
Turning off flight mode.
I got mine.
I've just got mine memorized pretty much.
All right,
I've been running the same list pretty much since the start of Old World. Though hopefully, since my new army is mostly assembled now,
Yep.
should be able to change that soon. I've got a big block of Chosen with a Sorcerer in it, and some Chaos Knights and Dogs for core. This time I ran a Demon Prince as my general, who was very fighty and skirmishy. I didn't run a Giant. I did run a Manticore. But it was
No, Chimera.
Chimera. I always mix them up. But it was a very similar list to what I normally do. It's just I spent the points from where the Giant normally goes on a BSB instead. He didn't have any special ban or anything. He was just an extra fighty character in my extra fighty unit.
All right. Ben?
I ran a Wizard Lord level 4 as my general with the same build I always do, which is the Magic Missile build.
The Spellslinger build?
Spellslinger, yep. That I had a captain on Barded Warhorse as a BSB with the Dragon Bow, and then I had 2 engineers with no additional weapons. I then had 2 blocks of 7 knights, one with lances, one with great weapons, 2 scout archers, MSUs, so just 5 of them each, and then 24 veteran state troops. So actually took infantry this time with a Griffin standard, which is the one that doubles your rank bonus. And they had spears and shields. For special, I had 2 great cannons and 3 demigriff knights with full command and a Ruby Ring of Ruin on the champion, lances. And then in rare, I had a steam tank and a Hellblaster volley gun. And that was my entire army, 2,000 points of Empire.
All right.
Nice. For me, start off with the Dreadlord and the Black Dragon, Pendant of Kaelat, Shield of Gron, so the usual kind of really defensive build there, and then the obvious stuff like the full plate and the Sea Dragon Cloak, and then the Sword of Might, just to give him something extra on the rider. High Beastmaster as well on a Manticore, very light on his items because I literally had 3 points left in the character slot. And then a Supreme Sorceress on a Cold One, level 4, Talisman of Protection, Tome of Furion, 1 Focus Familiar using Demonology. For core, 2 units of 10 Repeater Crossbowmen. I was trying to do a Linehammer thing with them, and it worked kind of well. And 23 Warriors in just 1 big block with spears, full command with the Razor Standard and Veteran. They kind of, it was just to fill out core, and they didn't want to, just keep using the cavalry guys again, the Dark Riders. For special, I was trying out 5 Harpies for screening, and then 6 Cold One Knights with the full plate armor, Dread Knight, and Ruby Ring of Ruin. And then the last unit is the Charybdis in the rare slot, because I'd never tried one before. I wanted to try it out instead of the Hydra, and it is definitely better than the Hydra.
All right. Thanks for that. Okay, so round 1 was take and hold. So in this scenario, you deploy similar to Breakpoint. To be clear, on every battlefield, there were 3 buildings, a 1 in the center and 1 off to each side, kind of more or less in the middle, but not always exactly on the center line. And then there was usually at least a forest or 2, some difficult terrain, and some other sort of obstructing features potentially as well. So in this scenario, all buildings were treated like special features, and the large building was the primary objective and had all the rules for the Monument of Glory. So the primary objective was you got 3 points if you controlled the Monument of Glory at the end of the game, and if you controlled either small building, 1 point for each. Those were your secondary objectives. So that was how you could score up to 5 points. So who wants to go for it? Maybe Mark.
Yeah, sure. So I went up against David Wade and his High Elves. He had, I believe, a big block of, I think it was either Swordsmasters or Phoenix Guard. They were basically...
Phoenix Guard.
Yep. They were parked in the center objective for pretty much the whole game. He got him in there first. I couldn't dislodge him. He had a dragon. I also had a dragon. He also had a sorceress. Sorry, not a sorceress. They have mages, I believe, in High Elves.
Yeah.
Archmage.
Yeah, so David, if you're listening, please don't bring Evolves on Making and fuck up my dragon like you did last time, because I'm pretty sure you killed him. I can't remember because I was very sleep deprived, because it was up until 2 a.m. in the morning the previous night beforehand, and I was absolutely fecked the whole day. But I'm pretty sure that's how he killed the dragon. Evolves on Making twice, off goes the Shield of Ground, off goes the Pendant, and then I'm pretty sure he used whatever the Lion Tyrannok Chariot thing to charge the dragon in the back. Some sort of other cavalry, I think, was charging it on another side, and then there was a dragon off going in front. I'm pretty sure he killed the dragon. If I remember correctly, I was able to take one of the side objectives. Other than that, I basically had nothing. I tried to bring my dragon around his flank to maybe attack stuff at the back and all that. Didn't really work out. His whole army, which I didn't realize, elves fast. Oh look, High Elves. Turns out they're also fast enough to get out of your front viewing arc, so you can't really charge anything. So big loss against David. Learned an awful lot. I'm going to bring more Blackguard and try to keep my Black Dragon and stuff that has magic items away from his mages who have Vols on making.
Yeah, Vols on making was definitely part of his tactics across the tournament. That was an 18-2 to David on that one. So
I played against Corey before, who was also in this. He brought Hyle before, he brought Vols on making. It didn't happen, like nothing happened in that game. So I was like, oh yeah, surely this game everything will be fine. It wasn't.
Yeah, it's hard to cast, which is the only downside of it. But
hard to cast, also hard to dispel.
Yeah, hard to dispel.
But if it goes off, that's like the main way to kill a dragon. That's why I say high elves have the best magic, because of that spell.
Oh yeah, and that and their ability to just don't they have a built-in +1 to cast?
Like they can re-roll one failed spell per turn.
It is,
it's the equivalent of Hearty's Blessing. It's like something of Asura or something like that.
Yeah. All right, Finton.
So my first game was against Dan. It was a slaughter. I was absolutely destroyed.
Dan had his Tomb Kings, right?
Dan had Tomb Kings, yep.
He had Tomb Kings with a bunch of Ushabti and a bunch of Tomb Swarms in front of the Ushabti, so nothing could charge them, but they could shoot over the Tomb Swarms. A fuck ton of wizards. And a bunch of skirmishers.
It was a mortuary cult list.
Yeah, which is the strongest Tomb Kings list, possibly one of the strongest lists in existence in the game right now.
And I think he had a dragon rider.
Yep, he had a dragon and a necrosphinx.
Yeah.
It was brutal. You can't do anything about the Ushabti, who hit insanely hard. It's basically like having a unit of bolt throwers. No matter what you kill, like he had a couple of units of like infantry and stuff.
Yeah, he had 20 skeleton skirmishers, 6 skeleton skirmishers, 6 tomb swarms, 6 Ushabti with great bow, a necrosphinx, 2 tomb scorpions, 2 caskets of souls.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
Level 4 illusion high priest on the bone dragon, with the lower familiar serpent staff, talisman of protection, and then another level 4 with the warding splint on necromancy, and then a level 1 mortuary priest with elementalism and the amulet of the serpent. It was an awful list.
I love Dan. I really like him.
Yeah.
But I've played against his Tomb Kings once before, and it was like he was playing Magic the Gathering with all the scat spell cards out. And it just wasn't. I was killing his stuff, and then it would come back, and I was killing his stuff, and it would come back, and it ended up in being like a sort of just. He won slightly the game, and it was like, well, this doesn't feel like Warhammer. That's sort of how I feel about the Mortuary Cult list personally. I don't think it's super fun to play against, or maybe to play, although I haven't played it myself yet. It just seems a bit like a nope button with a lot of really good units.
You're just doing it wrong. All you got to do is kill his general on turn 1 with some poison shooting because he misdeploys, and then you just win. It's easy.
Tomb Kings are so rough to play against. It makes me feel bad for like collecting an army of them, even though they look so cool.
Don't feel bad.
Everything that I did, like I threw my extremely high damage output unit into him, and I did nothing. Like I killed like half his unit in one turn, and he brought it all back.
Yeah.
And then he charged me in the flank with 2 monsters at once, and the unit was gone.
Yeah.
You can kind of just castle up with those Tomb Kings and just heal
So
stuff, cast
many
spells, shoot
spells.
things, and you win.
Which is what he did.
Yeah. I didn't have a chance in the game. I ended up with a unit of dogs and a demon prince on the board at the end of the game, which couldn't control anything. So.
Yep. That was another 18-2.
Yeah, it was really, really rough, and just not a fun start to the tournament for me.
Yeah, I could see you getting kind of...
Lovely opponent.
Yeah.
Like, he's a nice guy.
He's a lovely guy, and he takes his defeats very gracefully as well. So,
and like this is a GT. I accept that they're going to be lists like this.
Yeah, of course.
But it's just rough.
All right, Ben, your game 1.
Oh, I had a fun game 1. I had a game against Matthew. Matt.
I think your game 1, at least according to my notes, was against Kian.
That was my game 2.
That was your game 2?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
They were both draws.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Then I'm going to say,
Spoilers.
let's go with what I've got here, which is Kian.
That was a different scenario, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then maybe it was with Matt. I've got you in round 2 against Matthew. That's weird.
Oh.
All right, that's fine.
The scores were the same.
Scores were the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He was playing Skaven.
Yeah.
which was like, oh, this should be like I should have the advantage here for once as an Empire player. But the thing about Matt is he really knows his army and he really knows how to play it, and he's very smart. So it was sort of like very much a stalemate type game. We did play the rules wrong, as in we went into the building in the middle, which you're not supposed to do. So I sent my state troops in there, and we had a bit of shooting back and forth. His weapon teams are pretty good. Those the Gatling gun guys that Skaven have.
Rattling guns.
Yeah, and then his big bell charged me and killed a bunch of my stuff. That's all I remember from the game. It was a draw. My spoiler alert for my games this tournament, they weren't very wild scores. They were all sort of around the middle. I ended up slightly over average, which I'll take. But it was a relatively uneventful game, and he played it very well. It's really nice to see someone play Skaven and play them really well, because if you know what you're doing with that army, you can grab some wins, you can grab some points. But for most people playing them, I'd say it'd be a really uphill battle. But Matt knows what he's doing, and he took good units.
I don't know. I think I maybe had a glitch on my screen. I now have you against Matt in round one. So you each got one scenario point. So I assume you each controlled one of the secondaries at the end, and nobody controlled the middle one. And so it ended up at 10-10. So after round one, the rank and flank team wasn't looking too hot. One tie and 2 smashes, and not the good kind. All right, round two. So the round two scenario was Storm of Magic. So this one deployed using open battle. The large building in the middle was an arcane monolith, and the 2 small buildings were just impassable terrain. So there was some extra rules here, and the extra rules basically were anytime you cast, roll an extra dice. And anytime you dispel, roll an extra dice, and the double 6s and double 1s all counted as what they count as. So you would have an extra chance of miscasting or perfect invocation and all of that stuff. And
spells in general were easier to get off.
They were, and the primary objective was to control the arcane monolith. That was 3 points. And then you got secondary objectives. You could get a point for killing a wizard, a runesmith, or a bound spellcaster. Or if you miscast or were outclassed in the art, you got a point as a consolation. I think Bruce, I don't think he played either of you in that round, but Bruce managed to get 8 points off of that just from miscasts alone with his orcs and goblins. So I think the guy needs new dice.
Yeah. We should bring that back.
Yeah. So just on the secondary objectives, sometimes you could score a lot of points on them, but the maximum, it was kind of like, okay, if you got 8 and the other guy got 5, then that would mean that's a difference of 3. So that meant you scored the 2, right? So it was always a maximum of 2 points on the secondary objectives. Okay, so let's go then. Finton, I have you facing off against Bartley.
Yep. He was an Empire player.
Yep.
You played very well. The game, I went in, I was very confident because his whole list was built around a block of greatswords with 2 detachments of state troops.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, infantry. That's my thing that I murder. Unfortunately, I didn't realize at the time that he had a whole bunch of debuffs from dark magic, specifically Word of Pain, that he was casting on my units. I went in with my Chosen. I flew them up using Steed of Shadows on the first turn, right into the face of his greatswords, and then I got the charge off the next turn, after he had debuffed me using Word of Pain, and I failed to get off any of my buffs. So I was at Strength 3, Toughness 3, Weapon Skill 5. Well, Strength 5, you do the great weapons.
Yeah.
But it was very, much lower than I'm used to with Strength 7.
Right.
I was still winning him on 2s, but the toughness really specifically hurt a lot. And the lack of extra attacks.
Especially against greatswords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hit, I didn't lose any combats. I did get flank charged, and the unit was down to about 4 guys at the end of the game, including the characters. But he attacked me on both sides in the flanks with line-hammered infantry blocks, which did a decent bit of damage for state troops. He didn't roll the spell that he wanted, which was Battle Fury, I think it was, the +1 attack spell from Dark Magic. Because any enchantments that apply to a regimental unit also apply to their detachments, and that was the gimmick behind the army.
Yep.
Being able to apply 3 different buffs at once with just one cast. He just didn't get the opportunity to do that, which was quite unfortunate. Very fortunate for me, though.
Yep.
I pretty much wiped the floor with the rest of his army, I think. But against the infantry blocks, I wasn't able to kill any of them. We kind of just ended up having a Mexican standoff at the end of the game where I had fled. And I was just out of charge range of him, so I just shot him with magic missiles, and he chose not to engage me again.
Yep.
Because he was going to get too hurt without getting kills in return. On the flank, I had sent in both my Chaos Knights up one flank alongside my Demon Prince and my dogs. Pretty much the rest of my army had gone in on the left flank. The Manticore had gone up the right and was eating his cannons and Hellblaster. The left flank went quite in my favor. He was very close at the end, though, to yoinking the objective away from me, but I had just enough units left to hold it. And on the right, I just ate all of his war machines with clever positioning behind a forest. It was a very close game, though. I don't remember the exact score.
I will tell you now. It was a 12-8, and you each had 2 scenario points. So it
yes.
was a 12-8.
We each rolled 3 miscasts.
Okay.
I believe that each of us got a Dimensional Cascade. Or maybe I think we each got 2 miscasts and 1 outclassed in the art.
Right.
It was quite a game.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the scenario.
Yeah, good.
He was a very nice guy as well.
Yep, I'll just go through his list real quick. He had a general of the Empire, who was his general, with full plate armor, shield, brace of pistols, on foot, with the bedazzling helm and the white cloak. What's the white cloak do again?
5 up ward, 3 up against flaming attacks.
Okay. He had a captain of the Empire as a BSB, also on foot in full plate with the dragon bow. Another one with full plate shield on a Pegasus.
The duck.
The Pegasus was a duck.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
With a brace of pistols, the burning blade, and a ruby ring of ruin. Then he had 2 naked wizard lords on foot, level 4s, one on demonology, one on dark magic. And then he had an Empire engineer with a grenade launching blunderbuss. In Corey, he had...
that blunderbuss hurt.
Yeah.
It killed like 5 chosen on its own.
It's really good.
Oh, wow. I mean, it is a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
So he had 2 5-packs of Empire archers. He had 2 10-packs of veteran state troops with halberds and drilled. Those were detachments. And then he had 6 Empire Knights also with drilled and full command, lances, and then 10 missile troops with handguns. And the sergeant had the Hochland long rifle, of course. Then he had 2 great cannons, the 20 Empire great swords, which I presume was his regimental unit.
Yep.
And a Hellblaster volley gun. All right. So that was your Storm of Magic. Then Ben, I think now you were up against Kian.
Yes.
Okay.
So I played against Kian, who was a dwarf player. He had a very fun army, which was centered around a massive block of Longbeards. I think, Finton, you also played him later.
I did, in the 4th round.
Yeah. This was another draw. It was a close game. I think he probably could have won if he'd been more aggressive, but I think part of the thing about playing Empire is you don't actually want to fight. You kind of want to exert your threat, the range threat that you have onto the battlefield. And so he was afraid of getting past a certain point on the battlefield because he'd bring him close to my Hellblaster volley guns, it'd bring him close to my shooty wizard, and so he ended up keeping his Longbeards back for the entire game. And we just traded units for the rest of the game. So I killed his Slayers with my Demigryphs. but he killed my Demigryph champion, who had a Ruby Ring of Ruin, which gained him a scenario point. I think I might have had a single miscast, so that ended up making us draw on that, and we drew in kill points as well. So it was another draw and another fun game.
Another exhilarating draw from Ben.
Well, it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's very different to the way that Chaos will play, for example, because Empire you don't want to fight a lot of the time. You want to get out really small wins. So I actually got more kill points than he did, but not enough to get a scenario point. But in most of the tournaments, that would be like a slight win.
Yep.
And that was what I was finding throughout most of my games with this army is I get slight wins, slight wins, slight wins, slight wins. But you get enough of those and you can end up winning a tournament. So it's that's sort of the way you have to play is plink some units off, avoid their dragons, exert your threat using cannons and use magic to control the battlefield. Because the fact about Empire is even with all the buffs in the world, even with dark magic and regiments and 20 great swords, you're still just going to lose to everything. And you are still going to lose your combats because they're overcosted, they're crap, and you need to use the tools that you do have. It just so happens the tools that Empire do have are like guns and some kind of janky magic stuff, and also knights are okay, but they're not that great.
Yeah,
And
faith,
Demigryphs,
and gunpowder.
So it's if you want to win with Empire, you can't play the same way everybody else does. You've got to be really sort of tactical. And that was something I found through all my games is I'd have to hang back a lot. I wouldn't move up onto the battlefield. And I'd end up playing a cat and mouse game with my opponent that I'd end up winning because I'd shoot more of their stuff than they did.
I mean, that sounds like classic gunline tactic to me, is just keep retreating and shooting.
Yeah, but also you want to have enough counterpunch to where they don't move, just walk into your gun line.
Right.
So knights pose a lot of threat to the enemy, for example, because their charge is pretty good. The countering charge is good.
Especially Demigryphs.
Yeah, Demigryphs too were great.
Yeah. Yep. I see you had a 10-10 in terms of victory points and then one scenario point each, so 10-10 overall.
Did you play against any dragon lists this tournament, Ben?
I didn't run into any dragons.
Right.
I played against sort of like the weird armies. I got like ogres and lizardmen and skaven.
Fun.
Yeah, so it's good.
I am going to read Kian's list. He was the only person who named his army and all of his characters and everything else.
They're very cool.
So I think it deserves to be recognized. And on top of that, it was very well modeled and painted. Some of the models he had digitally sculpted and printed himself. And
Beautiful army.
It was a beautiful army, and it won Best Painted. So. The Throng of Kraka Harbrak, and King Cazador Doc Bracky was the Dwarf High King, rocking a great weapon, full plate armor, shield on shield bearers. He had the Rune of Parrying, the Rune of Preservation, 2 runes of shielding, and the Rune of Passage. His engineer was Dugrim Blackfist Duffson, and he had a demon slayer called Snorri Malakdom, who was just rocking 3 runes of fury for those extra attacks.
That was a fun fight, him against the Demigryphs.
Nice.
He got his killing blow off.
Ah, cool.
But I ended up killing him, I think.
Did he get you with a death blow?
I think he did, actually. I think that's how he killed me. I don't remember.
That's
I just
cool.
remember him rolling a bunch of killing blows that kind of screwed up my Demigryphs.
Yeah. That's a great way to take Demigryphs out. His core units, he had the Harbrak Harbingers, which were 10 Dwarf Rangers. They have the throwing axes. Do they have those built in, or do you have to pay for those?
You get great weapons and throwing axes for free. You can spend at 1 point to change. Yeah, you get them automatically, but you have to pay for crossbows, and then you can also pay to have crossbows and throwing axes.
Yeah,
So-
he did have crossbows and throwing axes.
Which is worth it almost every time. Because
Yeah.
you get the stand and shoot. from
Stand
any
and shoot
range.
with the throwing axes.
It killed my knights, those throwing weapons.
Yeah, they're great.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Cazador's company, which was his 26 strong block of longbeards, it's 453 points. The standard bearer rocking the Master Rune of Hesitation, and he also spent the extra points to give them drilled. The Ale-shot Thunderers, 8 Thunderers, and Gurney's Gunners, another 8 Thunderers. And then he had Grommy's Sea Smoke, which was a gyrocopter. The Voice of Grundny, which was a cannon. The King's Tithe, another cannon. The Drunken Drengi, which was 6 giant slayers in a unit. And the Oathmakers, another 6 giant slayers. And then rounding it out, Hardingson's Scouts, which was another 10 Dwarf Rangers. So lovely army, well named and well painted.
Balanced as well. Is a pretty good army.
Yeah.
He had a bit of everything. We shot all our cannons off.
That is exactly what happens when there's cannon on the battlefield. You shoot my cannon, I shoot your cannon.
Whoever goes first wins.
It's a bit
Yeah.
of a trade.
Yep. All right, Mark, you were up against Emmett.
Yep. So we didn't actually get much of the game done. I played Emmett a good few times at this stage, and we only got actually to the end of turn 3, which didn't really end in my favor. I also misdeployed a little bit as well. He's
playing Lizardman.
Yep.
Yep.
He brought, and I was curious to see how they would work. Plenty of skinks, and they do work well. I believe they're core, but despite them being really good, they're still only core. So they're not going to. You're not going to win the game just with them.
They're good for core.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is the best fast cavalry unit in the game, but it's still just fast cavalry. So or it's still just a war machine, or etc. So you can't base your whole army on the one unit. Not that he did. But he did bring 2 units of them. One, they're skirmishers, so they could be shot up pretty effectively, which is what my sorceress did to 1 unit. The other unit, I think it just stuck around for the rest of the game, and it just kind of plinked at things that I could, fire its little blow dart gun things at, or whatever they are, pipes or whatever. He brought, I think it was a Stegosaurus.
Do you want me to go through his list real quick?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I can remember parts of it.
So he had the full allocation of 1,000 character points, because you have to. So he had a Slan Mage Priest,
The worst
Slan.
wizard in the game.
Yeah.
poor Slan, on Illusion with a higher state of mind ability, which I think is the +1 to cast. I can't remember. Then he had a Skink Priest riding an Ancient Stegodon, level 2 with battle magic, and then a Scar Veteran on a Carnosaur with the armor of Meteoric Iron and a Giant Blade. For core, he had 16 Saurus, because you got to take 10 as attacks. And then he had 2 units of 15 Skink Skirmishers with Javelins and Shields and Light Armor, and then 10 Skink Skirmishers just with the Blowpipes. And then in special, he had a Bastillodon with the Solar Engine, and 8 Cold One Riders with Drilled.
Nice.
Full command.
The Bastillodon and the Slan Mage, they kind of hung back for a fair bit of the game. The Carnosaur, it went straight past my dragon and went into the warriors that I have, and eventually they just... I think they were actually running at that point because the skinks had fired and killed off enough of them to trigger panic, and then the Carnosaur just had to run straight into them and just got rid of them. And then I think I turned my black dragon around to go after his Carnosaur, which worked. I think the Carnosaur, it took enough wounds to run away, but it was almost dead anyway. Then my Black Dragon went off the board, and at that, he already had his Colwyn Knights, not Colwyn Knights, Colwyn Riders, right?
Yep.
Yeah, his Colwyn Riders, they were already at the center, the center objective, alongside his Slan Mage, and I think the Bastillodon was there, and maybe he had something else, or I can't really remember. But it unfortunately ended at the end of turn 3, so he had all his units on the center objective, which is really what I should have been doing as well, instead of putting my Colwyn Knights with the Sorceress on the Colwyn in the as far right as you could on my side of the table, and there was actually things in the way, so I was like, oh god, I'm actually going to have to reform this now and try to get it closer to the middle of the board so it can do something extra other than just kill skinks.
So you kind of ignored the objectives until it was too late.
Yeah, and then the game unfortunately ended on a turn that was really not in my favor. So I would say that was probably a pretty big loss. Probably 18-2 or 20 something. I don't know.
It was actually, so it was an 11-9 in terms of battle victory points, which makes sense because you only got through to turn 3, but he ended up with 4 scenario points and you had none, so that was a 15-5 to Emmett.
Yeah, he also converted, I think it was his Carnosaur or something like that, but one of them is actually fully converted dinosaur, and it looks really nice on the battlefield, so
that was
nice to see.
Hand sculpted model.
Yeah,
the
whole thing.
Unbelievable. He got my best army vote because of how creative it is.
Yeah,
he got them from a pound shop or a euro shop and just turned them into really good looking units.
Yeah, I think he did that for one, but then the other one is literally entirely pure clay.
The Bastillodon was it was sculpted from the ground up.
Yeah, I remember seeing like the progress pictures and like there's like
It's brilliant.
fins or something that he was attaching to it, and everything's really nice looking.
And he's a huge dinosaur nerd as well, so he's trying to make them all as accurate as possible, pretty much.
Yeah. Did you get
lovely guy.
Diplodocus riders? In his next legitimate army.
All right, so rolling into round 3 then. Round 3 was domination. So in this one, you deployed using the rules for the flank attack. So that is where you have to pick a flank force and put it to one side.
The one where I always accidentally reveal, oops, I'm putting my dogs on the left. Before we do anything correctly.
All the buildings were impassable terrain, and the battlefield got divided into 6 sectors, each 2 foot by 2 foot. And at the end of the game, you scored 1 VP for each sector where you had the highest unit strength in the sector. Units can only score for 1 sector, and if they're crossing a border, your opponent gets to decide which sector they're in. So this was so that you couldn't just kind of camp out in the middle of 2 and go, oh no, I'm claiming points for this one. And so this was all just, there was no secondary objective, and it was also the simplest scenario in the tournament, scheduled for the end of day 1 on the 3rd game. So okay, so round 3, Ben, you were up against Emmett, whose list we just talked about.
Did I win this one? I won this one by a little bit.
You got a 12-8.
12-8, yep. That was my biggest victory of the tournament, I think. This was, I don't think I any of my units died. I don't think I lost a single model this game, because it was just a stalemate type thing. Of, I positioned my demogryphs behind a building so that if he did move forward, then they'd charge him in the flank. And so he was just casting spells at me. I was shooting him. I shot off a bunch of his dinosaurs, and then the game ended. And the Slan, I think, was the main focal point of the game, which was just like how bad it is. And it's just like, I was just like, how many points is that thing? And then it was loads of points. So
it's about 400.
It's worth a dragon.
It's 2 level 4s from the Empire army.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
And it's worse than both of them.
Yeah.
This was like a good matchup for me. Lizardmen aren't the best army, even though Emmett knows how to play them really well, but they're very good against cannons. As in, like, you want to match up against them when you've got great cannons and a steam tank. So I was just shooting him, and I killed a bunch of his dinosaurs, and then the game ended because we were both very tired. And that was it. There isn't really much else to say.
Another exhilarating match from Ben.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing is, no one wants to come. No one wanted to come into my lines. They were just sort of hanging around, shooting each other, and I'd get either a draw or a slight victory, except the next game. So,
all right. Mark, you're around 3. You were up against Barclay, which was the Empire list we just talked about a moment ago.
Oh, it wasn't against Bruce. Okay, cool. Yes, you're right. Actually, sorry, I have these listed on this page the wrong way. So I brought basically it was like control each
sector.
Each sector. Yeah. There's 6. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of Bruce's game, so I was thinking about talking about that. But I kind of just hung back for a good bit of the game with the units that I could and tried to keep them on a sector. I kind of got lucky because I was shooting an awful lot of his stuff with my magic and just regular shots of the repeater crossbowmen and all that kind of stuff on the right hand side of the board. So I was able to shoot anything that he had. I think he had skirmishers. And he his duck guy as well. Everything kind of just got shot an awful lot from there. So I felt kind of bad for that. But his cannon didn't get to do much work either because there was a big forest right in the way, which is where I was hiding my dragon, which then eventually went into his big block of great swords. And it actually lost the combat. Because there was just so much combat resolution that the dragon couldn't kill enough to make up the difference. It ended up fleeing. We played it a little bit wrong because he wanted to charge it with, I think it was Empire Knights or something like that, but we played drilled wrong or something like that. We redressed the ranks beforehand to expand the front arc or whatever, and then caught the dragon, and then turns out you're not going to do it that way, so we just removed the dragon from the game and didn't count it for points.
I remember this. So this was he had redressed the ranks before declaring the charge.
Yeah.
And the only way that he could have declared the charge, you weren't in arc until after the ranks had been redressed, so it shouldn't have been a legal charge. But by the time I had come over and been asked rules, too much had already happened.
Yeah, so like we were kind of moving on at that stage,
Yeah.
and the dragon was already off the board, and I had like my manticore in the way as well. So like basically I just kept shooting at stuff. Parts like it didn't actually do that much damage to his army overall. Like I did kill the goose guy, duck man, and some skirmish stuff, but like the cans
Captain
were untouched.
Quack.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
I think there's a Time Splitter's character called Duckman Drake, which I'm going to call him from now on. But like I can dash some skirmishers. The cannons were fine. His main blocks of infantry were fine. They were just kind of slow and didn't really get like to move like in much at all, because there was so much terrain kind of in the center board, which is where he wanted to be. But yeah, at the end of the game, I think I took my Kobold Knights and I just tried to move them as north as I could on the right hand side of the board, which just gave me the extra point I needed to score for the game, because like, he had two, everything else was contested or owned by me, or no one, and I just edged out the point in the end. So it was pretty it was a fun game, to be honest. I really liked the duck, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to not like the duck.
It is. It's a very nice looking model.
Yeah.
I didn't mention earlier, but he's also got a whole bunch of parry miniatures, but he's up armored by hand, I believe, to make his great swords. They were all axemen. They weren't actually GW great swords.
Yeah, he had a lot of
cool.
variety and conversions of that army, and also between that battle and the previous one, I did really see how effective magic is against skirmishers, because literally even if you can't see them, they're part of the unit, and so they can't really hide around things. The -1 for shooting doesn't exist. The fact that they're almost always very light armored, very elite, very expensive. Ruby Ring of Ruin, it worked really well in Emmett's game against the Skinks, even though they're not elite. Worked really well against the Empire Skirmishers. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's especially good against skinks because they're only tough too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like the demonology, whatever that spell is called,
Summoning.
the summoning, that worked really well against the Skinks.
Yeah.
Magic missiles are great. That was the only reason I got any points, was everyone was scared of my wizard because he had so many magic missiles. I got fireball pretty much every game.
Nice.
So I was shooting off 2 magic missiles each time.
Fireball is beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big ball of fun.
All right, and then the last game from round 3 that we'll cover is Finton, and you were up against Bruce and his Orcs and Goblins.
Yep.
Shall I just go over his list real quick?
Sure, if you
That
want.
seems to be the right thing to do. I mean, maybe once we're done with this, I'll go over the ones that we missed as well, because I know there was a lot of requests to kind of go through the lists a little bit, because it was hard for people to read the lists. Best Coast is... I'm not a fan of it at all anymore, and I don't think I'll use it. Try and use it again. I couldn't use it in the store because no Wi-Fi, so I ended up having to use a different program to run it, and then mostly just spreadsheets after that. Okay, so he brought Orcs and Goblins. This was literally Bruce's first 5 games of Old World were this GT. So.
He did shockingly well for a third game.
Yeah, fair play to him for just rocking up and putting his dudes on the table. So he had a Black Orc war boss with full plate shield on a war boar with the Trollhide trousers, a headsman's axe, and a luckstone. He had an Orc big boss who was his BSB with the big raggedy flag. With a great weapon also on a boar with the Dead Ard armor and a luckstone. And then a Night Goblin war boss, pretty much just with an additional hand weapon, and that was it. And a Night Goblin Odd Knob, which was a level 4 with the glowy green amulet, the Idol of Gork, and an Obsidian Lodestone running WoW magic. In core, he had 36 Night Goblins with 3 Fanatics and the Spider Banner with short bows and netters. Then he had 10 Wolf Riders with reserve move, 15 Black Orcs, stubborn veteran. I don't know if they get those by default, but full plate armor, shields. He had the front rank with, it looks like he had the front 5 with great weapons and 10 with additional hand weapons, and full command with the Razor Standard. And then an Orc mob with hand weapon and shield and light armor, 21 of those. And then in special, he had 8 Orc boar boys Biggins with full command and the Banner of Butchery, and then he had 2 5-packs of Squig Hoppers.
Yeah, it was it's always shocking to me seeing how many models Orcs and Goblins can put down on the table
Yeah.
for the same number of points. It's quite ridiculous. Luckily for me, they kind of just melt when faced with a unit of Chosen.
I mean, most things do.
You'd be surprised, but Orcs and Goblins specifically melt.
Yeah.
I've yet to have a game be lost against Orcs and Goblins.
It's a good matchup for you, isn't
It's
it?
a very good
'Cause
matchup for me.
unless they have like skew heavily into ranged.
I'm just going to hit harder than them.
Yeah.
It was, like you said, it was his third game.
Yeah.
And he did surprisingly well. We did forget about the Spider Banner. I didn't realize that he had poison shooting on his Night Goblins, or just poison attacks on his Night Goblins, which was kind of a big deal. We just... Actually, no, I think... Was that one? That was on the regular Goblins, was it?
No, he only had Night Goblins.
Right, okay.
And he had 36 of them, and they all had short bows.
Did he have a second unit of Goblins?
Nope. Only...
Are you sure that's the right list?
yeah. He had Goblin Wolf Riders,
He had
an
a...
Orc Mob, and Squig Hoppers. Let me just make sure this is Bruce Garrow. Yep.
Yeah, he had a unit of Goblins that he arrayed out in a line in his back right corner. And then he had a big block of Goblins with Fanatics in it.
Well, whatever he had in the line
And he
was
didn't have the Spider Banner. That was a specific thing that we...
Okay, well, this is the list that I have, so...
Okay, the rest of it seems right, but
Okay.
there was definitely 2 blocks of Goblins. I'd sent my Chimera up the left flank to go get his Goblins that were in a line. And then I sent my Chosen in the middle to go kill his big block of boys and Goblins as big blocks. And then I sent my... I had my Knights and Demon Prince on the right to go into his Boar Boys. It kind of went perfectly. The Chimera did its job and ate all the little goblins and scared them away. The Chosen took some hits from Fanatics and lost like half their number, but then killed everything in about 2 turns. And the Knights, I was able to force a flank charge on his Boar Boys, either between the... he had to choose if he wanted to get charged in the flank by the Chosen or by the Knights and the Demon Prince. I believe I got the flank charge in with the Knights and the Demon Prince, and then I charged something else with the Chosen. Because he was more scared of the Chosen hitting him in the flank than he was of the other things. I hit him in the flank there, killed almost all of his Boar Boys, and then his War Boss fled off.
Yeah, the Boar Boys really want to be getting the charge,
Absolutely,
not
they do.
being charged. Yeah,
Yeah. It was indecisive with the facing of him,
right.
which really hurts.
I mean, facing is very much something that comes with experience.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
I think at the end I ended up holding 5 of the 6 zones, and he held 1 with his Squig Hoppers. Or the Wolf Riders.
Looks like he had 2 of them and you had 4.
Okay, 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It went really, really well for me. It was quite brutal in terms of combat. If it was just kill points, it was...
Yep, you got a 15-5, which is the maximum in
Yeah.
kill points, and so you ended up with a 17-3.
Yep. I was very happy with the result. I felt a bit bad. It was his 3rd game, but I couldn't tell it was his 3rd game until he told me at the end of the game. So
Yeah.
he played quite well, and he was very sporting about it.
Yeah. Okay, so just real quick, there was a couple of lists that I didn't talk through in the games that happened. First was David Wade's list, which, Mark, you fought in the first round.
Yep.
So he had Archmage, this is High Elves, Archmage on foot, level 4 wizard, Sigil of Asuryan, a Silvery Wand, Seed of Rebirth, Lore Master's Cloak, and Warden of Safari on high magic. Then he had a Prince in full plate armor as his general on a Star Dragon with the Ogre Blade, the Dragon Helm, Charm Shield, and Seed of Rebirth, and the Pure of Heart Virtue.
Disgusting.
It is gross. It's a 2+ Let's see. So that's a 2+ armor save and a 5+ regen and a 5+ ward against the first wound, or what, against one wound. It's not the first wound anymore. Okay, in core he had 5 silver helms with lances. He had 25 spearmen with full command and shield wall, and 5 reavers. And then in special he had 24 phoenix guard with full command and the battle banner, which I believe is the one that gives extra a D3 combat res.
If it's D3 combat res, I could be getting confused with the Dark Elf one, but it might be only on the charge when they get that. Because there's one that just gives you +1 combat res, and the other one is like...
The battle banner is plus D3 combat res for high elves.
Just period.
It's a high elf. Okay, I see.
Yeah. And
it's the war banner plus, because the high elves get everything but better.
Yeah. And then he had 5 shadow warriors and a lion chariot of Chris.
Yeah, I remember that chariot as well, going after the dragon.
Yep. And now David's been playing this list about once a week since Old World came out, so he's very proficient with it. And he won the exploding dice one day that we went up for.
He was the only dragon taker, right?
He was the only person who brought a dragon.
And everyone made fun of him for it.
Yeah.
Which was well deserved.
Yep. Okay, and the other list we didn't cover was the Skaven list. And given how maligned Skaven have been in this edition, I figure we should cover that off. So he brought a Plague Priest on a Plague Furnace, level 2 wizard with battle magic, and a Warpstone Amulet and an Earthing Rod. And then that was his general. And then he had a BSB with a Charmed Shield. And that was it. And then in core, he had 3 units of 20 clan rats. 2 of them with spears and 1 with sword and board, and each of them had a rattling gun weapon team with them.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah,
I think those are good.
I think those are the primo choice.
The rattling guns are particularly good in this edition, are they?
I wouldn't say particularly good in this edition. I'd say like they're
the least worst option.
Those aren't terrible. Yeah.
Good.
Wow, how remarkably average.
I think me and Matt were like the 2 people with the least amount of character points. I might have had like less than 500 character points. I think I maybe even like 400 total character points, and he had about the same. Right?
He had 414. Yeah,
414. Yeah.
And you had, if I can find your list.
It's a very hero hammery edition.
Oh, for sure it is.
Especially with the dragons, which cost more than that on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will find yours and tell you how much you had really soon. There you are. You had 418.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you did. You guys did have, I think, the least amount. I'm just looking to see the weapon teams, page 8. Here they are. Your choices are, the rattling gun, the poison wind mortar, the Doom Flare, which I used to take a lot when I played Skaven, a warp fire thrower and a warp grinder. The Doom Flare I always used to use as just a chaff unit. Always thought it was great for that. But anyway.
I imagine they're more expensive and worse now, just like everything in the Skaven list.
It doesn't work the same anymore. Like it used to be, you just run it as an independent unit. I don't know how it all works, and I don't want to distract by going down that rabbit hole.
Rat hole, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then the other list. Sorry, let me just finish off this Skaven list. That's what I was doing. God damn it! Now I've dropped it. Where did it go? Here we are. So yeah, that was Clan Rats in core. For special, he had 28 Plague Monks with full command and the Razor Standard. 2 units of 4 Rat Ogres with a couple of Packmasters. And then a Hell Pit Abomination and 2 packs of 5 Plague Censer Bearers to round it all out.
He won a game after that, I think, as well. He did pretty good because he's only there for one day.
He was there for one day, yep.
He was top of the scoreboard at the end of that day, pretty sure. Or near on.
I will tell you now. Let me see here.
Like, for only playing 3 games, he did really well with the rats.
Yep.
How many points does anyone know what the Hell Pit Abomination is?
It's like 300-ish.
It's not quite that many.
It's expensive.
240, I think it was.
Yeah.
I shot it.
210. It's 210.
Oh, it's not that expensive.
Okay,
it is He was not happy with how it performed.
Yeah, I did hear him talk about it not being great in his games.
I mean, it used to be the bomb, the A bomb.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he
For
had
210, that's almost as much as the like. That's a little bit more than the Manticore, but like, sorry, the Chimera. I don't know. That seems pretty decent for points, but
yeah, he basically had two ties
doesn't hit that hard.
and a win. So looking at his points, round 1 he had a 10, which was against you. Round 2 he had a 9, and round 3 he got an 18. So yeah, quite a big victory.
Oh, I think he beat Corey, the ogre player.
In round 3, he was indeed playing Corey. You're correct.
And there was that big 18 win that I think.
Yep, that's
put it
right.
up there.
That's right. Okay, so I think we've covered all of your opponents' lists now. Let's rock into round 4. So round 4 was for first game of day 2, Supply Raid. So this used the old Dawn Attack rules from 8th edition, which I included in the tournament pack. And this is just a slightly better version of meeting engagement, in my opinion. And thanks to James McDonald for suggesting that I don't use meeting engagement, because that sort of roll a d6 and sorry, your dude just doesn't appear is kind of sucky. And it's weird, like, sorry, just to hark back to what we were talking about at the start, where they're like, oh, you put all this effort into, painting your dragon model, and we've given you a scenario where if you roll a 1 for it, it doesn't get to come on the table right away, and that could lose you the entire game.
But
sorry.
Hey, with the new Arcane Journal, now you can pay to increase it. You can pay to increase the chance it doesn't come onto the table with ambushers.
Yeah.
Assuming they can even take a dragon, but yeah.
Yeah. So this scenario, basically, you roll a dice, and it either put them on the left flank, the right flank, or in the middle. So not quite as devastating as the meeting engagement one. They were always at least on the battlefield. And then you set up your whole army first, and then your opponent sets up their whole army. And then on a 1 to 5, you go first. On a 6, your opponent would go first. Right, assuming you were deploying first. So that was how Dawn Attack worked from the deployment. Now the buildings were you were able to go into them, and at the beginning of your strategy phase, if a friendly infantry unit of at least unit strength 5 occupied the building and is not engaged in combat, it received a supply token. So to win the primary objective, you had to retrieve the most supply tokens from the large building, which got you 3 points. And then you would get 1 point if you had the most supply tokens from either small building. So that was the scenario. Let's see. We're back around, I think, to Mark going first.
Yep. So Bruce, who we just mentioned his list, I was going up against him for this one. It was Orcs and Goblins. As an overview, the way the game worked was he didn't want to put his unit of what are the Iron Jaws equivalent Black Orcs? Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't want to put them into his side objective. The objective closest to his side. That wasn't the main objective on his first turn, and that basically was what cost him because we were fairly even on points for combat and deleting out each other's units and all that, but literally just because I immediately marched my guys, my repeater proxy boys into my side objective, that's what won me the game. I think for
you had a big, if I remember rightly, you had a big fight over the central objective.
Yeah,
quite a lot of dudes involved in that.
Exactly. So I won the roll off. I think basically like I had a dragon and repeater crossbow guys on my left hand side. On his corresponding side, he didn't. I don't think had have anything deployed on his right hand side. So I was able to do whatever I wanted with that. Actually, no, he had orc boys going up against like a dragon and then like something already occupying, the side objective on that side. So yeah, the orc boys were deleted. I was able to get some shooting off as well against his fanatics. They didn't really do a huge, not his fanatics, his squig hoppers. They didn't really do a huge amount. Again, the whole thing of they didn't have much armor. magic is great against them, so nothing really happened there. And then we just, as you were saying, had a big melee over the central objective. I put repeater crossbow guys into it. He charged him with wolf riders, big melee. I think there was maybe one wolf rider left, or maybe he charged it with something again afterwards. And there was like 2 of my guys left or whatever, but basically I had enough stuff to keep the fight going, so no one was getting the central objective throughout the whole thing, which is why me taking the side objective early was so crucial. There were some other fun things that happened in that game as well, aside from the dragon doing its dragony thing. His fanatics came up after my manticore, my Beastmaster manticore, and they brought him down to 1 wound like that. It was scary. I was like, holy shit.
Because it's only tough 5. That's the big difference.
It's only tough 4.
It's tough 4? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, so I had Shield of Ground was on the dragon, and I was like, holy crap, these guys are good. They spun around a little bit again after that. I don't think there was much for them to bounce into. Actually, no, one bounced into the main objective and died from that. And I think his other one, we had some other melee. I can't remember what it was. I charged his boar boys with something. Maybe I charged him with the dragon or something afterwards, or maybe I charged it with the manticore beforehand, or something happened where we had another melee going on, and like the other fanatic like went into that melee and then started beating the shit out of his unit and my unit. Oh, it was the Charybdis. Yeah, that was it. I charged his boar boys with my Charybdis. And then the Charybdis got the shit kicked out of it. So did his boar boys, and then they ran away from it because it has terror. It was there's a bit of experimentation, like something I haven't seen much of in any game. I think maybe Ben, you did it once. Having your character, like your independent character, your lord or whatever, actually leave a unit to do something better.
I do that all the time. I did it so many times in this tournament as well. It's a very, very, very good strategy.
Yeah,
it keeps the wizards safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're coming from a unit with the wizard in it. He's just going to run away.
Yeah.
Arcane Urgency himself and be on the other side of the board.
I didn't. Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. I didn't think about doing that. But that's what he did with his big boss or whatever it was in the boar, to have it try to charge over to the manticore and kill it. And I think he did, or I was able to fly it away because it's able to fly. It was a really fun game. Really enjoyed playing against him, to be honest. Would definitely play him again. Also, I did a thing where his short bows with the night goblins, I just kept everything out of range of it and just kept backing up and kept doing a ruby ring on it, or whatever thing I had that had longer range than whatever it was, 14 inches for the short bows.
18.
Yeah, so I had something longer range, whatever it was. Or
ruby ring is 24.
Yeah,
so.
I think that was it, yeah. So I just kept doing that and everything was fine.
Yep. So it looks like you got a 10-10 on VP, and then you got that one side objective, like you were saying, this secondary objective. So it was an 11-9 for you. Okay. So then, Finton, you played Kian.
Yes, this was. I really enjoyed this game. Dwarves has been historically not an excellent matchup for me. Not a terrible one either.
I feel like you always win against them, but you don't have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that was different this game. I had a lot of fun this game because it was a very traditional dwarf list rather than a very old world dwarf list, if that makes sense, with loads of gyrocopter spam and basically no combat at all. It was a very fun list to fight. My initial plan going into the game was I'm going to put my chosen down in the center and fly him into the center objective on turn 1. I'm going to get the first turn and go right in there. He got the first turn. My chosen were on the left bit. So I couldn't do that. They wouldn't even be in range if I deployed them perfectly. And he got his Longbeards in there immediately anyway. So he had this massive unit of Longbeards in the center objective. I didn't know what to do about that. So I threw my chosen, my Manticore, and my Demon Prince all at them, combo charged immediately. And within 2 turns, so 1 battle round, all of the Longbeards were dead. It was just the king left, who was in a challenge with the Demon Prince. And then challenge equalized, and I won a combat res. Because I outnumbered him so significantly, he fled. You can't flee out of a building, so he just died.
That sounds like something from a short story from an army book.
Yeah.
The Last Stand of King XYZ.
Yeah.
I think you can flee out of a building.
If you flee, or if you break, then you cower within the building.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then since I immediately catch up to him, he then dies.
Ah.
Because I can make contact with him again, which is a bit of a silly ruling.
That is kind of silly.
But he fled, and he died. And then I had my chosen in the building. He then charged it with everything else that he had. But because my chosen block with the wizard in it, the wizard was in contact with every unit that was in there. Like the wizard's unit was in contact with every unit there. He has Enchanting Aura, which gives them all strike last. I had Demonic Vigor on, which gives me +1 initiative, and they were charging over a low linear obstacle, which means they didn't get any benefits to their initiative for charging. So they were all initiative 1. I was at initiative 2. So I hit first with everything, and they didn't get to fight back because I killed everything. It was very hard for him to shift it. I ended up taking the center objective and getting more supply tokens on that. On the left flank, he grabbed his objective there with his rangers and just killed my unit of knights before I could get there. On the right flank, we kind of had a Mexican standoff between some Slayers and my... I think it was Slayers anyway. And my knights... I got right up next to it, so that way if he entered the building, I could charge in and kill him with the lance charge. But I didn't want to enter it because then he would charge me, which was kind of a mistake on my part. At one point, near the end of the game, I entered it, got a single supply token, and then he charged me, and I believe lost the combat due to the low leader obstacle again. I was higher initiative, so I got to hit first. And even at strength 4, I'm hitting hard enough.
Yeah.
I had a really fun time with that game, and it was we started that round very early, and then we ended up spending about an hour just discussing it afterwards.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. It's in the duck and cover section. Should a unit occupying dark ruins, that's where the rule comes from, break and flee from combat, it is completely destroyed and removed from play. So
yeah,
that's you played it correctly.
Doesn't Earthen Ramparts give you the low linear obstacle?
It does, but it prevents you from charging.
So if you had an anvil unit, I know it's a bit of a segue, but
yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
Actually realize that. That's
unfortunately,
really
warriors cannot access elementalism.
all right, here we go. Blackguard elementalism, Earthen Ramparts. That's going to be our cheese list. Sorry,
But you do need a way to give your opponent strike last, and you need a way to give yourself a higher initiative than 1. Otherwise, it's just going to be a base initiative versus base initiative. It's not amazing. It's just specifically amazing with my build.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. Like with your elf spearmen, because
Initiative 5.
they'd be initiative 5 when they're charged, and you'll get to strike in 2 ranks.
I was thinking more so Blackguard because same thing but more expensive.
Initiative
Halberds.
6 on the charge, aren't they?
Yeah.
Neat. Okay, so
I believe that round, that ended with me winning 2 of the objectives and all of the kill points, and then he had 1 objective, or nearly all the kill
you
points.
had the center objective, and he had 1 secondary objective. It was a 14-6 on victory points and 3 and 1 in the scenarios.
Yep.
So you ended up.
I
with
didn't actually end up getting the
16.
side one. He got 1 point in there, and I got 1 point in there.
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds right. 16-4 to you.
And also another interesting thing is you cannot charge out of the building.
Correct. You can only move out of it in the remaining move subphase.
And that means that I stuck my frenzied chosen in there, and then they didn't have to leave.
Right.
Which was very, very strong. Having a 3-attack chosen unit that has no downsides.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, Ben, you're up against looks like Saul.
Saul's Chaos Warriors list, yeah.
Yeah. How about I just go through his list real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just find it. Saul actually, I think, gave his army a name. Yep, it is the Host of the Bloodied Eye. So he had a Demon Prince, which was his general, with Fly, the Mark of Chaos Undivided, level 4 wizard with Infernal Puppet on Demonology. He also had an Exalted Sorcerer, level 2, also Undivided, on foot with the Lore Familiar, Enchanting Aura, also on Demonology. And he had another Exalted Sorcerer, also on foot, also Undivided, also originally with a Lore Familiar, and then eventually changed that, but I didn't update this list. He had 2 Lore Familiars originally. I think he changed that out to a Spell Familiar or something similar, also on Demonology.
The best lore.
Yeah, well, especially because the signature is that nasty summoning spell.
It's easily the best signature spell.
Oh, for sure. In core, he had 14 warriors with, it looks like sword and board and full command, undivided. Then he had 12 Marauders. Oh, this is with Flails and the Mark of Corn and a champion. He had 2 units of those. Then he had 5 Marauder Horsemen, also undivided, and then 2 units of Warhounds with Vanguard. And then in special, he had 9 Chosen Warriors, Great Weapons, Mark of Slanesh. That's an interesting choice.
I've never seen someone use Slanesh Mark.
No, me neither. Champion and Standard Bearer, but no musician. And then he had 6 Chosen Chaos Knights, with the full plate armor, drilled, full command, undivided, and then 3 Dragon Ogres with a champion.
Yeah, so this game was, I was kind of cursed for this game. I think turn 1, I think I misfired twice and one of the cannons exploded. So it just died. And then either turn 1 or turn 2, I got a miscast on my wizard, Dimensional Cascade, wiped out half my unit of knights. And everything just started going wrong from there. I got off some good charges. I remember I charged his chosen unit in the flank and they were only 1 deep. So I should have, killed some of them. I killed nothing with my knights, with lances. And I was like, well, it's just not going right this game for me. I wasn't rolling well. Stuff was sort of going wrong for the beginning, but it was a good game. It was a good game. He had a good setup for this particular scenario because he had lots of MSU sort of low unit type infantry guys that I just couldn't fight because I only had the 1 squad of veteran state troops. But I lost this one quite handily. I think it was like 15-5, 16-4.
14-6.
14-6, yeah.
And, yep. 11-9 on battle, but he got the main objective.
Yeah. I don't think... I usually am fine losing. Like, I love... I usually have fun in the games that I lose. But this one, it felt like there was literally nothing I could do. And those are the ones that take it out of you, I think. So that sapped my energy. Where it's just like, okay, I've just rolled so poorly. It doesn't matter what decisions I make. I can't kill his Demon Prince because he's an infantry. My cannons can't target him. And then he also has that thing...
Cannons totally can target him.
Yeah.
Not when he's near...
No, cannons don't target.
They don't target.
They target a point on the ground.
You could have just shot him off.
I could have just shot him?
Yep.
Yeah, with the cannons.
Okay. Even though he's infantry and he's near infantry?
Doesn't matter. You don't target, right, with the cannons. That's one of their big advantages. Your target point with the cannon is the point in the ground.
But I think we looked this up and you need to... you can only hit him if it's directly on the base of the...
That's if he's in the unit.
Oh, he wasn't in the unit.
Yeah.
He
can't be in the unit.
All right, well...
If he's separate, you're allowed to shoot him.
But he had some magic item on him as well that made it... do you know what I'm talking about, right? What's it called?
Impossible to get your spells off.
Infernal Puppet?
Infernal
The
Puppet.
fucking Infernal Puppet.
Yeah,
I refuse to use that item, even though it's ridiculously good, because it's not fun at all for my opponent to be dispelled every single time.
Yeah, holy shit, not a single spell, like...
Yes, so that game was my only loss this tournament, and he played well.
And it had nothing to do with Saul, because I believe Saul was a good opponent.
Oh, he was a lovely guy.
Yeah, I think these were like his first games, I think.
Yeah, he'd played a few, I think maybe a few times, but he was super new to the old world.
Yeah,
which is good. And I think he'd had some poor luck in other games, and so this was like his good karma.
Well, clearly the eye of the gods was on him for that game.
Yeah, but he did really well, and he's a lovely guy too. Hopefully he comes to the next GT.
Yeah,
I'd like to see if he makes any changes to his list. Hopefully he doesn't bring a dragon. I can get revenge on that Demon Prince.
Maybe that's the sound Dragon makes, I don't know.
The Demon Prince is a much cooler option than the Dragon. Everyone should run a Demon Prince.
Yeah, it feels like more of a risk because it's squishier, right? It doesn't have many wounds.
It's squishier, but it's also safer against most... Well, no, it's not. Nothing's safer than a Dragon.
Yeah.
A Dragon is essentially a tank that you're bringing onto this medieval battlefield.
A flying tank.
A flying tank, yeah.
Beep.
A flying tank that can kill everything and also...
like a tank?
Never die.
This is a Land Raider from Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
Just give it wings.
It's a salamander.
I'll just run my Thunderhawk from my Dark Angels as a...
Just put a dragon's head in the front.
All right.
I'll paint the word dragon on the side of it. Use one of those 621 transfers or whatever.
All right, so round 5 then. This was the last round was Breakthrough. So you're deployed using the rules for Breakpoint, which I think means you're a bit closer to each other. All the buildings were also special features using defended position, duck and cover, huddled together and incoming. So like the Dark Ruins, just like last time. And in this game, you scored a 1 point for each unit of unit strength 5 or more in your opponent's deployment zone at the end of the game. So there was only the primary objectives. This was basically about running down the other end of the battlefield and not dying.
Yes.
And let's see, Finton, you were up against Conan.
This was a rematch from a previous tournament.
Yes, and his Bretonians. So let me just read Conan's list.
It's a very nasty one.
So
Lots of horses.
he did.
It's Bretonians, isn't it?
It's Bretonians. Yeah, you kind of have to.
I think it was an Errantry Crusade, wasn't it?
Errantry Crusade. Yes, the Headless Duke's Crusaders. I'm guessing his
Duke has no head.
His Duke has no head. It's ironic because he's wearing the Grumroll Great Helm. It maybe just hangs beside him.
It's on the Griffin.
It's on
the Hippogriff.
yeah. Yep. So his Duke was heavy armor, shield, lance, hippogriff, Grumroll Great Helm, healing potion, and the virtue of knightly temper. That's the extra attacks one?
But yeah, the challenge.
Oh yeah. Okay. Then he had Paladin as his BSB.
Like half of them you have to challenge. I forget which one it is.
Yeah. With the virtue of confidence, and then
That's another challenge one. I know that one for sure because we did get into a challenge with that one.
All right. Then he had a level 4 prophetess on elementalism, riding a warhorse. Then in his core he had battle pilgrims. He had 15 of them plus the Grail Reliquary. Then he had 2 units of 5 Knights Errant, or maybe 6 Knights Errant. I'm going to guess it's 6. 6. It's just a weirdly formatted list. And then 10 Knights of the Realm. Both of those, I think they just had champions. Oh, no, look, there's a standard bearer with the war banner and his Knights of the Realm. So a lance of 10. Yep. Then he had a unit of Pegasus Knights with the Errantry banner. And then that's just 3 Peg Knights. And then a unit of, it looks like 10 Grail Knights.
Yes, it was brutal.
Was it only 3 Pegasus Knights or was it 5?
Yep, 3.
It was only 3. Okay. It's just awkwardly formatted in this.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I think maybe, yeah. So he had a big unit of Grail Knights, and they were running the Crusaders Tapestry. I'm not sure what that's the one. That's the Errantry.
They were frenzied.
Yeah. And the champion had the Antlers of the Great Hunt.
I don't know what that does.
Me neither, but I'm going to look it up while you describe your game.
Do I have to?
Uh-oh.
It was, I played this one really, really poorly. Like looking back on it. I didn't, so he had a lot more units than me. Like, to the point where even if I won all of the combats and killed everything that I got into combat with, he would still have enough things getting through to win the scenario.
Yep.
So I had no chance of winning the scenario at all. So I figured I'd just hang back and prevent him from getting any scenario points, and just try and kill things, which was not a great plan. Because hanging back against Bretonians means they get to charge you, and you don't want to be charged by Bretonians. It sucks. Then again, I didn't really have much of a choice because he has countercharge. Guess who doesn't have countercharge? I put pretty much everything in the middle except the Chosen, who I put off to the side to match his Grail Knights, and a couple units of dogs around the place. In the middle, everything died. Like, I got into a huge combat where he charged me with like 4 or 5 different units. It was an absolute slaughter. Literally every model in the middle died. At the end of the game, I had just my Chosen and my dogs left. I was really happy with what happened on the left flank, though. I baited his Grail Knights 3 different times with charges against my dogs because he had to, and I did it at max range so I could just flee and he couldn't catch up to me. He went just like at the end of it, with some clever rotations that I did, and with impassable terrain being a thing, I did some clever maneuvering to make it so that way I could get a guaranteed forced flank charge on his Grail Knights with my fully widened Chosen,
Yeah.
and just destroyed them.
How many points were the Grail Knights? Like, they're very expensive.
Yeah, they're really
individually,
expensive.
aren't
Yeah. Did he have his wizard in there? I don't know.
He did, and I killed the wizard.
Yeah, 383 for the Grail Knights, and then another 180 for the wizard.
Less than my Chosen.
So yeah. Wow. Okay, 560 points.
Yes, the Chosen are very, very expensive.
Yeah, they are. And I think you lost quite a few of the Chosen to.
I lost 6 to dangerous terrain in one turn.
Yeah. So lesson learned for me as a TO.
You declared at the start, surprisingly, all forests are dangerous terrain.
All forests are dangerous terrain. I think I will now, from now on, make them just difficult terrain.
I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
I had been setting them up on the terrain. When I was setting up the boards, I had been setting them up with the assumption they were difficult terrain.
Yeah.
So that I'd put them in deployment zones and like in really awkward spots that wouldn't be too bad if they were difficult.
Yeah.
And having them be dangerous meant that on one board, literally the entire deployment zone was dangerous terrain.
Yeah. Close on. So anyway,
And I was forced to deploy these guys in the forest or else do nothing with them. So I took like 10 casualties from dangerous terrain over the course of the game, which just sucked.
oof.
But then again, the Grail Knights killed nothing, and it didn't bring them below 25, so it didn't affect the score of the game. And I had already definitely lost the game.
You know, I think you did all right on the victory
Oh, yeah.
points. Like it was just an 11-9 there.
I also managed to, for about half the game, bait off his his Duke using dogs, just fleeing away from him again.
Yep.
But then he got in and killed everything. Eventually, it was just rough.
Yep. And so I think the overall score there was a 13-7 to Conan.
Yep, putting me in 6th place overall and him in 5th.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Ben, you played Corey.
Corey Nazogas.
Yeah.
It was the battle of the D tier armies as ogres faced off against Empire in the final match of the day. It was so I mentioned the game before. I felt really unlucky. This one, Corey was very unlucky.
Oh.
He should have won this game. I think a mixture of he didn't have some of his rolls weren't great, and then also I janked my way utilizing the scenario of like I did the thing where all his army charged my general, my wizard, in the block of knights, and then I nuked him out of there with arcane urgency, and he zoomed over to the other side of the board and joined another unit. I was like, bye.
Nice. Okay, so I'll just go through Corey's list real quick. He had a tyrant on a stonehorn with the ogre blade, seems appropriate, and the kin eater big name with the spangle shard. I'm not sure what that one does.
The reason the Ogre Blade is more powerful than the Giant Blade is because there's no Giant Kingdoms army.
That's what it is. And then he had a level 4 Slaughtermaster with the lore familiar, talisman of protection. He had the giant blade. The Death Cheater big name running illusion magic. Then in core he had 3 bulls, 2 saber tusks in a pack, 35 noblars with throwing weapons, and then 7 iron guts with full command, and the veteran special rule. I don't know if they had to upgrade for that. And then in special, he had an Iron Blaster and 2 Iron Blasters and 3 Morn Fang Cavalry with full command and the Cannibal Totem.
Yeah, his list was good. Those Iron Blasters are very good. They're like mobile cannons that are also really good in combat.
They're a heavy chariot with a cannon on the back.
Yeah. They're kind of like a steam tank light. But yeah, I felt so janky winning this one because there was a big sort of totem pillar building in the middle, and so he put most of his forces on one side to go and charge my general, and then I ran away with my general, moved him around to the other side of the board, and took that half, and then ended up with a bunch of my stuff in his deployment zone. I think he failed to get off his Spectral Doppelganger twice against my steam tank.
Oof.
And my steam tank survived on 1 wound and then shot off one of his iron blasters. And overall, it was just, it was a very hard fought win. I don't know was it 11-9, 12-8?
I will tell you in just a moment. I was looking up what the magic items did. Benedict against Corey. It was a 12-8 in victory points, and you had an extra scenario point, so 13-7.
So 13-7, and it was.
I think that was your biggest win.
That was my biggest win. Yeah, that was my big one.
The most thrilling match from Ben yet.
It was like in a horror movie when they're running away from someone. That was me running away from the archers and just speedily zooming across to the other side and just being out of grasp. It was like the Coyote Roadrunner guy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if I fought him straight up with my Empire army, he would have 20-0'd me because I just don't have anything to fight with. So I shot off a bunch of his stuff and then ran away and snuck into his backline.
It's almost like you want to be Wood Elves.
Well, they do play a lot like Wood Elves, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see a new magic item in the Empire Arcane Journal of the comically large anvil.
Okay, so I just looked it up. The Spangle Shard that was on his general gives him a 4-up ward. But if you roll a 1, it's destroyed and can't be used again.
Still pretty good.
For 35 points. Yep.
It's interesting because we just had that JTY guy say that, you just need to bring cannons to kill dragons, right? It's 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah.
My experience being 2 great cannons and a steam tank and a Hellblaster volley gun was I really couldn't kill anything that was above like 6 wounds.
Yeah.
And I could maybe kill... I got quite lucky killing the dinosaurs in Emmett's army. There's no way I would have ever been able to kill a dragon. I wasn't able to kill the Plague Furnace. I wasn't able to kill Corey's big thing. There was no way I was ever going to kill that, even with as many cannons as I have. Yeah. So cannons aren't the counterplay to dragons or big things at all. They're good for killing like
giants,
tough 5 like manticores or giants.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole category of like side behemoths. Anything that's a behemoth that is not a dragon does seem to just not be worth its points. Like a giant Charybdis,
if it's not
Hydra.
ridden.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
Yeah,
if it's not ridden, exactly.
Non-ridden monsters are generally not great.
If you can't give it its force field jetpack.
Right. I mean, the counterplay I have to dragons that I see is Illusion Wizard on a Pegasus, and that's it.
And that is kind of the only real counterplay, right?
Which is really boring for both players.
It is.
Yes.
But that's
here's your
sort of
500-point model that will stay on the table, but it's going to stay right there.
Yeah.
We'll build up a perfect spot for it. We'll put sandbags around it and everything.
Yeah. So load it up with power scrolls. Just pray and hope that you get that off, and then play the rest of the game on its own in isolation, and that's all you can really do. So, but yeah, game 5 was pretty good, and I think I ended on 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss, and my final score was 51-49, so 1 point above average, right?
Yeah, 1 point above getting ties the whole way through.
Yeah. So hey, it's a winning.
A thrilling conclusion.
Yeah.
And those were hard fought draws. It's like, oh my gosh, it was not easy to sort of to get those. But hey, Empire's in the spot that it's in. I think there's some ways to win with that army, but it was good fun.
Get a new journal soon, ish.
Yeah.
Before the end of the year, hopefully.
Yep.
You'll get the Imperial Dragon and everyone will run it in every game.
I'm wondering when we get eventually we're going to get like a mercenary that is a dragon, and I'm curious how that's going to affect the meta.
Yeah. Okay, so then your last game, Mark?
Yeah, went up against Saul with his Warriors of Chaos. That thing that stops spells from
Infernal
going
Puppet.
off. Yeah, that did its job, and I didn't get I don't think I got a single spell off the whole game. But that wasn't actually the big problem. I tried to break. He had his Dragon Ogres right out in the center. They were his anvil. And I tried to charge it with my dragon, and I didn't make the charge. And that's where everything went wrong, because I tried to charge it with the Manticore, and then the Manticore died like that. I think it did maybe 1 or 2 wounds or something like that. It didn't kill a Dragon Ogre. I'm pretty sure they have 3 wounds for toughness.
4 wounds.
4 wounds.
Yeah.
No wonder it didn't kill 1.
It's hard to get through them, yeah.
Yeah, so they immediately killed the Manticore, and I'm already down like, I think 200 and something points.
Yeah, because they're hitting back on strength 7 with those great weapons. Yeah.
I think I went up with my, like later on in the game, I charged them with the Cold Knights. All the Cold Knights, apart from the Sorceress, died, but I charged them with the Charybdis, and I think there was 1 left. No, I think the Charybdis killed off the remaining one. But yeah, the dragon, I think he got charged by his flagellants with frenzy or something like that. By that point, though, he was trying to bring his demon prince successfully as well, along with most of the rest of his army, into my deployment zone. I was like, oh fuck, I need to do something about this. So I brought the dragon back, and by that point, I mean, like, the game had gone on for so long that anything I had that could score points in his deployment zone either couldn't make it or was half dead, and it was kind of like, it was very obvious he's not running the game at this stage. And just as like a fun kind of exercise, we tried to put his demon prince, whatever Slanesh guys he had with attacks, I think they were chosen, his chaos knights, and I think that was it, and we had them all charge the dragon, and the dragon, I believe, still won the combat.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
That was a nice
surprise. It's a dragon.
Yeah.
He was curious. He was like, "Are these really that bad?" And
the answer is
they,
yes.
They are definitely that bad. So that's how it went. I got destroyed, but yeah, I still really enjoyed the game. Learned a lot. One thing I do enjoy about these tournaments is that you learn so much more about the metagame and what armies are like capable of. Like, one person might run an army entirely different to how someone else plays that army. And seeing like different things on the board is always fun. Like, I'm waiting to see the Dark Elf player out there who just runs a load of Corsairs. I want to see someone do really well with Corsairs, just to see them do something a bit different, because
Corsairs are the which ones?
The piratey ones. They have open order, so they can do the triple move thing, and
do they skirmish?
No,
okay,
they don't. Only Dark Riders have skirmish,
and Shades.
Shades have skirmish as well, but they're not core. They're special.
Yeah. Someone ran a very MSU Shades spam unit.
Yeah.
List that won another GT.
I think it was I have the list on my phone actually, but it's something like 3 units of Dark Riders.
It's the other way to win. Bring MSU.
Yeah, literally. Let's try to be wood elves.
Yeah.
So it's literally all shooting. 2 big units of Shades. 3 units of Dark Riders that are like, I think it's like, one is 6, the other is like 7, the other is 8. I think it was a Black Dragon and a Master who has an item that lets you re-roll any ones to hit, and he just seems to shoot them like constantly. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Shoot
like crazy.
If you want to win Old World, play 40k.
Or play dragons.
Oh yeah.
40k with dragons.
Well, no, it's a Land Raider. We already determined this. Okay, so that was the end of round 5. So overall, I'll just go through kind of the standings. First place went to David Wade from Exploding Dice. That was the High Elf list that we read out earlier. Second place was Dan Byers. So that was the Tomb Kings list that you played first. Double casket list.
They faced each other, didn't they?
They did, and Dan got a win.
And neither dragon died.
Neither dragon died. They didn't. They didn't
fight.
I don't think they fought. Yeah.
They kind of ran away from each other.
And I think there was some misplay there about targeting.
Anyway,
which was interesting. And then in third place was Paddy Murtaugh with his Warriors of Chaos. That's the only. So I'll read that list in a second. And then fourth was James McDonald with his Vampire Counts list. So fifth was Conan with the Bretonians. You and he were playing off, and he came fifth. You came sixth. Ben, you came seventh. And then Kian came in eighth with the same number of points as you, but the tiebreaker was scenario points, and you had more. Yay!
Hooray.
So we gave the best overall award to Paddy. That was the Paragon Award. He came in third for general. He came in, I think, fifth for painted, and he came in third for sports. So it was basically the lowest combined rank, which is why he got best overall. I already mentioned Kian got best painted. Conan, the Bretonian player, got best sports, and Bruce, unsurprisingly, given it was his first 5 games, took home the wooden spoon. So from a GT standpoint, I I think it went pretty well. A couple of things that I learned. One is I'm not going to use Best Coast again. For a start, you can't read the lists.
New recruits better. Did you read off them from 8th onwards? The scores, the final scores.
I didn't. I can read those down too if you want. Yep. So Cian was 8th. Saul was 9th. Emmett was 10th. And then Corey with Ogre Kingdoms was 11th. And then Mark, you would have come in 12th, and Bruce 13th, I guess that is. And then we had 4 other players that were there for just like single days, and so it kind of makes the scores a little funky. But that's that. The list, the scores are all up. If you go to the Rank and Flank website and click on the GT page, you can get to the scores from there. And all the lists are also there. It's all just on a spreadsheet.
And in case you needed more evidence that dragons are very powerful, the top 3 lists were the 3 lists that brought dragons.
Yeah.
Except Mark.
Except Mark.
And then the 4th was that Screamer list.
The Scream list, yeah. So let me just do Paddy's list, who came 3rd, and James, who came 4th, because they were both good lists. And then I think we'll have covered all the lists that were there for both days. So Paddy brought warriors. And if I can just find the darn thing. Looks like here they are. Yep, that's it. Okay, so he had a Chaos Lord, full plate armor, shield, Mark of Nurgle on the Chaos Dragon, with the Ogre Blade, the Paymaster's Coin, and the Enchanting Aura. The Enchanting Aura is the 5-up regen.
Enchanting Aura is the one initiative.
The one initiative.
Class.
Okay. So
it's the best one by far.
And then with the Mark of Nurgle, what does that mean for him?
Reroll 6s to hit in close combat against him.
Right. That's the
one I put on my
protection.
Demon Prince.
Yeah, makes sense. Then he had a Sorcerer Lord with the Mark of Tzeentch on a Chaos Steed with Infernal Puppet, Spell Familiar on Demonology. Then he had 12 Forsaken of Slaanesh, 6 Forsaken of Slaanesh, 5 Chaos Knights with Khorne, 2 units of 5 Vanguarding Chaos Warhounds, and then 6 Marauders with Flails undivided, Skirmishers. And then for special, he had 3 Dragon Ogres with a Champion and 5 Chosen Chaos Knights with the Mark of Tzeentch and Drilled, full command, which is, I think, where he put his Sorcerer Lord.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Is it 5 Chaos Knights with or chosen with Drilled?
Drilled, yep.
Would Drilled not do anything in that case?
Well, if you have...
you can put them in marching column.
Marching column, 2 wide and 3 deep, especially with the Sorcerer in there.
You can zoom up 21 inches, or if you cast Sheet of Shadows, you can now fly 30 inches in one turn.
Now I see.
Yep.
And then redress when you charge.
When you charge the following turn, exactly.
Nice.
And then the Scream list that...
the Vampire Counts
the
list.
Vampire Counts list, yep. So this was a full 1,000 points in characters. So Master Necromancer, level 4 on the Mortis engine with the Scepter of De Noiro, a Spell Familiar, a Talisman of Protection, rocking Necromancy. Another Master Necromancer, level 4 on a Mortis engine with a Spell Familiar, Sword of Kings with Illusion, and then White Lord BSB on foot with this Charmed Shield, Sword of Striking, and a Cursed Armor. In core, he had 2 units of 28 zombies, and then 24 Graveguard with full command and the Drakenhof banner. And then in special, 2 units of 3 Fellbats, and rare 2 Terrorgeists. So 2 Screams from the Terrorgeists and 2 Screams from the Mortis engines. And it was a great looking army.
They look great, yeah.
So many good looking armies. It was really hard to choose best painted.
Yeah, I liked it. And I liked how many armies we actually had fully painted, even though there was no paint requirement. And I think we would have had more players, except there was also like an AOS GT happening the same weekend up in Belfast, which I didn't know about. So
There's always something going on at the same
so
time.
yeah, that's another lesson learned is try and figure out the calendar a little bit better. And I think I would probably have one less building on the battlefield. And I wanted to create scenarios with the buildings involved in them, but I think having 3 was a bit too many.
There was one table that I got on my game 1 that was like the crowded table where I didn't get any line of sight on anything for either of my cannons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also there was such a rush to set up at the start that I didn't actually set up every table. And so some tables were set up when I went back and looked at them and went, why is it like this? And table 1 was one of those tables. And so I actually changed it later. So yeah, I do think you need a decent amount of terrain. I think I may have over-indexed on it a little, but
I think that making it not dangerous forests may have made a huge difference.
Absolutely. I think that one for sure. And then I think maybe just like one less piece of terrain, and I think that's the sweet spot. So, yeah.
It felt really good being able to avoid line of sight with my Chimera, being able to just not get cannoned off the field every time.
Or poison shot.
Or magic missiled, or any number of other things. It's such a squishy little guy, but he's so quick. So having terrain really, really helps.
The issue is then you can then apply that at least to a similar extent to a dragon, which is like dragons are already avoiding.
You don't need the terrain.
There's no point. There's no point in shooting a dragon. You can't kill it with shooting.
You can't kill it with shooting, and also the dragon would just be wasting its time that it could be using getting a charge on, because you have to waste a turn hiding behind that building. You can't charge from behind the building because you can't see anything.
Yeah, they are pretty. I mean, the interesting thing about the results is they kind of align with exactly if you fed it into an AI that had all the results of every GT, every list, and said, right, what are the results likely to be? I feel like what we got is exactly what you'd get, which is like top three is dragon lists, then the screamers. At the bottom is like the legacy armies and the ones that aren't very good,
and the new player.
Yeah, and the new player. So that's kind of exactly what would be the expected result.
Yeah. I think the venue was pretty good. I think overall people seem to have a bunch of fun, and I'll do another one again next year with at a better date.
Yeah, you put a lot of work into it, and especially the prizes and stuff. Everyone was blown away, I think, by how well it was run.
It was really nice at the end.
It's kind of set a pretty high standard for anyone in the future now. But
everyone's going to go in expecting fancy chocolates and whiskey.
Where's my golden polished statue and my €100 voucher, please? Yeah, so.
We need to get a butler for the next one.
There we go.
Last time the TO drove me to the event.
There you go, a chauffeur as well.
Yeah, so there is going to be another GT in Dublin on November 30th and December 1st. And James, who ran the VC list that we were just talking about, he's going to be running that.
Shout out to James, lovely guy.
Yep, and I think he has the tournament pack up, but the tickets aren't on sale yet. But I think you can start to plan for that. And then this weekend, Finton and I are heading up to Bangor for another one-day event at Exploding Dice, while the Dublin crowd are having a very casual 1,500-point event. It's got I think it's got 24 players turning up for it.
Yeah, it's great.
A lot of.
It's just 2 games, though. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's only 2 games, and there's no scores.
It's 1,500 points, just for fun.
And it's just for fun. Well, it's also, I think, for a lot of new players, right? People who haven't had a chance to get their toys on the table yet.
If you bring a dragon, you'll be pointed and laughed at.
I think there are going to be a few dragons there, but I think it's more for getting the rules down and not to me a tournament is just especially a GT. It's just 5 organized games. Win or lose is not as important as just getting a weekend playing toy soldiers, right?
Yeah.
And certainly that's how I want my tournaments to feel. I don't want people to feel like, oh, it's a tournament and I have to be competitive and all that crap.
I think Stefan, who's a friend of ours, friend of the show, made a really nice comment on the drive back, which I was asking him, how did you find it? Because he didn't play, but he attended and he took photos and was chatting to people. And he was like, this just wasn't how I remember these tournaments being. When I'd been to these things, 10, 20 years ago, everyone was like measuring the very millimeters and they were all really competitive and it was a bit snarky and mean. Whereas he had the exact opposite experience when he came to the GT that we had in Dublin. And that made him want to play and feel more comfortable playing.
Yeah, which is great.
Which is the end goal, right? So
nailed it.
Yeah.
So was there another tournament we had to? No, I think we've talked about them all.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, then we can be done with the tournament zone.
Woo.
All right, men. Rank up. We'll charge him in the flanks.
I think that about brings us to a close here. Anything else to say before we finish up this very long episode?
I think if we get another roadmap from Games Workshop, I'd like it to actually have a, something that we learn. I guess we learned that there will be a nautical high elf character.
Yes, and we needed the whole map for that.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be battle boxes, heroes, plastic medals, resin.
Resin! Woohoo!
Jenny Mac.
My parting message is: listen up, you dragon players. You better watch out because I'm ordering a whole load of flagellants.
No, you don't need to. 2 or 3 cannon shots will take that dragon off the table.
I'm building an army list and it's got flagellants and it's got 2 or 3 cannons and, just...
Flagellants are shooting the cannons. Cannons are shooting out flagellants.
Yeah, and I'll see you at the winners table in the next GP.
I'm going to bring 1 Minotaur with a great weapon and you'll be cut in half.
All right.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Good luck.